Hello, good evening, and welcome to GPVWC and the coverage of the Super League Spanish Grand Prix, round 3 of the 2015 GPVWC Super League Championship. My name is Simon Smith, and we're just coming to the end of qualification. I've just seen an absolute smasher out on track at the moment, and we'll run through how that has all gone so far. As always, I'm never alone on cameras. It is the man where the rain in Spain always falls on the Quintin plain. He is bringing you all of the pixelated action. And welcome back. Now, fully recovered from his illness, we have Mr. Thomas Hinds in the box. How you doing, Tom?
Hey guys, welcome to the broadcast. Yeah, doing alright, doing better than I was about a week ago. So yeah, doing pretty good. I'm really keen for this. I was really looking forward to this round. A lot of interesting stuff, of course, with developments going on with drivers and development really kicking in now for this round. So it's all going to be very interesting. I'm very much looking forward to this race.
Definitely, and Mr. Hinds from the other side of the world gets up at stupid o'clock to make sure that he comes and does this with us. And Augustin Canapino is the man who has taken pole position for Nord Zone with a 1:17.425, just 0.05 of a second faster than Fran Lopez, ahead of Philip Pushka, who is our current championship leader, David Fidock and Davidus Misalis, with Alex Cooper in 6, making top 6, all 6 different constructors. The big thing that's massive for me, the top 12 drivers covered by 13 drivers covered by half a second, and an absolutely massive shunt as we cross the start finish line involving Fran Lopez and Nick Rowland. The two were basically pushing each other around the final corner as Lopez was trying to either push Rowland through or get by, but they both crossed the line bang on the 0-second lap because they were busy holding each other up. Neither got a final lap, and then Rowland pulled across and smashed into Fran Lopez and took them both out of the circuit. And it was a mess, and they're currently being reprimanded by the race director Chris Williamson. But it's the first time we've seen that boil over. And what's your thoughts on that? Already hot-heading action before we've even got to the race.
Yeah, it's all kicking off, isn't it? Really, it's a bit of boiling blood, perhaps. You never know, really. Just sorry having to relog into the game here. My game crashed randomly there, which was very annoying. But yeah, no, it's all kicking off a bit. Of course, we've got driver stuff as well going on and all that kind of thing. But only one penalty, of course. We might as well mention that now, just while I had it on my mind, just popped in my head. Only one group penalty, which is good old JJ, unfortunately. Old James Johnson, our favourite lad, laughing lad. Unfortunately, has got a penalty, but. Such is the way of things, but he has shown good pace, I noticed there in qualifying, some very nice pace, so I'm sure he'll come back through the field from that penalty.
Definitely. The entire 28-car grid separated by 2.4 seconds, something that we've seen throughout the whole of 2015, actually, is the constriction of the entire field. I know for Formula Challenge, where I raced, I was 2.2 seconds off of pole, and I was 35th on the grid, and Super Cup, I'm pretty sure, was nigh on the same. So even with all of the upgrades of all the different cars, it still meant that actually the field is very, very close, and that includes 2 green stripe racing cars who have less than half of the updates of the next car further up the road. So the fact that they're able to cling on with their coattails to the back of the grid is a testament to Ben Horrell and Do Old Nell for that. One big driver change that has come in. Lucas Euler is not racing tonight for CSG Racing. He has been replaced by Tom Parker, who has been an absolute sensation in the Super Cup so far this year, albeit sometimes not quite making it past the checkered flag. He'll be hoping that he solves that tonight. And of course, Tom Parker made his big hurrah onto the scene last year in the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he was leading before disconnecting on what was effectively his debut in that league. And he'll be out there, I'm sure, to try and make the best of it, although CSG not necessarily on top form at the top of the tables.
Yeah, indeed. They're not really dominating like they were last year, and certainly not at this early stage of the championship. Of course, as I've got a nice little bunch of stats here. I'm going to be the stats man tonight, so sort of like Crofty in a way in terms of how many notes he's got. Not actually Crofty though. Don't get me confused with Crofty, please. But yeah, they're
What's wrong with Crofty?
Not too much. Just yeah, I'd prefer to be a little bit different to how he is. But CSG are leading the constructors. They are leading that, but they're not leading the drivers, of course. That's actually Philip Pushka, interesting enough. Consistency, Mr. Consistency, second and second in the first two races. So the most consistent driver, I would suspect, in the entire field. So very, very impressive stuff from him. And of course, the man from last year, David Fidock's in second. He's only 2 points behind, by the way. And then, of course, Lewis Redshaw, a defending champion, 7 points off the lead. So yeah, it's a bit interesting for CSG because, of course, Euler, of course, 7th and 11th in the first two races. So really not showing that pace that we're used to from him, which has kind of cost them some points in the championship.
Definitely. And, I mean, I know we're on round 3. We're still wrapping our head around effectively a completely topsy-turvy order. And I'm sure people will have plenty to say about it on social media. We are on Twitter. Use the hashtag GPVWC, where we can track that and make sure that any of your comments get shouted out. We do love to hear from you. I've been reading all about Florian Gaia, who's been talking about how he and Augustin Canapino and co are all ready to get battling with the hashtag higher Nordzone. So they're clearly pumping it like a pumpable thing. And we'd love to hear from your comments too. Got about 5.5 minutes left until the end of warm-up. Currently Canapino top on that one. Tom, who do you think will be the sneaky people to look out for?
Well, it's tough to call because we were talking about this just before the broadcast. In that there's it's a bit weird with some of the teams. I mean, they've got a car that is really good. Looking at you, Phoenix, and even Kernop, actually, in terms of development, they've got a well-developed car, but they're just not getting the results. So it's a bit hard to predict because some drivers not really seem to be able to use the car to its full potential. So it's hard to pick, but I would say I'm going to go with Pushka. I think for winning this, I reckon. I just think the consistency, 2 seconds in a row, to have that consistency is a mark of a really good quality driver, really. That really helps, of course, in these long races. So I'm going to pick him, I think, for this one. I'm going to back him. But, I mean, again, Jarl's in there in the Woods again. He's got the pace once more, just like he has had pretty much all through the start of the season for Woods. So he could be one to pop up and get some good results, maybe. Otherwise, it's tough to call. I mean, Red Archer again for solid results. Perhaps Jordan Weeks. He's shown a lot of good pace in this early part of the season, so he could pop something out. So yeah, there's really a lot of guys who could really pull something out of the hat here, especially with how close the pace is.
I suppose it's a good time to take a look at the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships after 2 rounds so far. Philip Pushka is currently leading with 40 points, 2 clear of our world champion he is the current world champion, David Fidock. Don't know where I got that one from. Lewis Redshaw, despite a topsy-turvy Bahrainian GP, is third with 33. Then it's Alex Cooper on 26 points in fourth. Then a gap back to Florian Gaia and Davidas Misalis, equal fifth on 20. Petr Kaza, seventh for Torrent, able to show some of his form in a Torrent that is not quite so malognoined this year. Our pole man did not finish in Bahrain, remember. He had that disconnection very early on, and he'll be trying to raise himself up from 9th position. Weeks rounding out the top 10. 19 drivers have scored. Kenny Lybeer and Kieran Ryan just with the singular point. In the Constructors, however, CSG are 4 points clear, the defending Constructors champions, just about clinging on from the Red Bull team of Kantonen and Pushka. They're on 43 points. Hawkeye are in third with 38, ahead of Nordzone on 36, Midnight with 34, then Red Archer in sixth with 26. Torrent, Target, Woods and Adonis, our new team this year, currently sitting pretty in the top 10 and looking for a good haul of points, with both James Johnson looking much more on the pace this time, as is Fran Lopez, who is second on the grid. And I think aside from that, who else is new? Because there's a couple of... it's Ben Horrell in at Green Stripes instead of Sven Hess. That's where that's come from. Oh no, it's not. Sorry, it's the Nijo. Mikhail Tumala's in there. Instead of Sven Hess. It was a green car.
Too many of them on the grid this year.
There is indeed. I think we should have like a colouring in book where you can't have more than a certain amount of colours on a car A certain amount of cars on the grid in a certain colour, rather.
Indeed. So yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see. I'm really quite interested to see how this all goes. I mean, Adonis could really jump a lot here. I mean, they could maybe even to eighth. I'd put it as. I mean, I don't know about seventh because Torrance have got a nice points advantage over the bottom guys from eighth below. But I mean, it's possible they could get some good points here if Fran can put it together. But I mean, qualifying is one thing, but putting together that entire race is something completely different.
And what does it take to put in a kind of a race round this Spanish Grand Prix circuit round here? Because it's different to Melbourne, it's different to Bahrain. It requires a different characteristic from the car, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed. It's quite a challenging track, as we all know. So it's got some very flowing corners. I mean, it's got the chicane at the end of the circuit as well. So it's got some slow stuff as well, and the very long main straight, which is, I'm sure, going to have plenty of overtaking down to turn one, as you always do at this track. But it's a real test to drivers' concentration and really keeping your eyes open and keeping yourself on the ball. It's like with a lot of tracks. It's good to be fast. It's great to be fast on a one-lap sort of basis, but to put it together for a whole race distance, an hour and a half at the wheel constantly without a break is really a lot harder than just the one lap in a sense. So I'll be interested to see if Frank can do it because I mean he's obviously new to this top tier and the new team. And he's shown a lot of potential so far, so let's see if he can put it together here today, this one.
Indeed, and I think one of the big things that came out from the previous two career ladder races, tyre wear is going to be the biggest bugbear or headache this evening. Remember, we have the options in the primes in Super League. You must use both if it's a dry race, and that dry race is potentially under threat as well, as there have been random spots of showers that have been going on, and I know throughout a lot of the practice sessions there was always rain on that server, and it was driving people up the wall because it was on like 2 or 3%, and it's just that greasy point where you're sliding around like a sweaty squirrel in heat, and you just can't quite get the traction out of it. I'd be quite interested to see a little flurry halfway, if you don't mind, Mr. Weather. And of course, GPVWC utilises RF. What's it called? What do we use?
RFE.
RFE, that's it. I was like, what's the third letter? Which is a great thing that kept R Factor 1 alive for us, essentially, whilst we wait for R Factor 2 to switch over, which we may well be doing in the 2016 series. So, any final words of wisdom before we go round for the grid?
Well, I guess just to possibly watch out for people like Jordan Weeks again. Kind of like it sounds like a bit of a repeat from round one, but same kind of thing really. Jordan, watch out for him. Yarlton again in the woods, another one to watch out for. Torrance again, maybe getting some good results here. And I don't know, I'll be interested to see how Kernov go here. I mean, as we've said, I mean, development-wise, they've got quite a good car, really, especially compared to last year. It's leaps and bounds ahead of that. So let's see if maybe it's got better race pace than qualifying pace. We'll find out, but maybe we'll see how they go, and we'll keep an eye out if they can get some decent results.
Good stuff. Just a quick message there from Sven Hess to say, sadly, real life is a pain. He had to work this evening. That's why we have him not on the grid. And
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
Get off the grid, everyone. Off you go. Toodle pips. Right, 66 laps. Oh, devils. We have this evening. It's not 66.6. Everyone almost on the option tyre except for Davidus Missilis at the moment, who's on the prime. That'll be interesting to see how that gets on. It gives everyone a bit of a hello, and that's quite impressive if he managed to do that lap on the prime. I know, he switched to option now. Thank God for that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Otherwise there'd have been all the dramas. But as we go around on the formation lap around the Barcelona circuit, it's Augustin Canapino that is on pole position for Nordstone. Second position is Fran Lopez for Adonis, front row start for the new team. Philip Pushko, our championship leader, third in Vod Ball, the most updated car so far on the grid. Fourth is David Fidock for Hawkeye, our defending world champion, ahead of Davidus Missilis in the Red Archer VRT. Alex Cooper, sixth, up again for Midnight Motorsports. Florian Gaia, seventh in the second of the Nord Zones. Jordan Weeks, another impressive eighth position target, a very much a coming man this season, ahead of Mindergas Columbus, again in the Torrent car, showing good pace there in that beautiful livery, and livery of the year for me. Lewis Redshaw rounds out the top 10 in the top CSG. Davidas Petrovicius makes his debut for Red Archer VRT in 11th, ahead of, in fact it's not his debut at all, don't mind me, Sven de Vries 12th in the second target. Yartayan is in 13th for Woods, ahead of Peter Kaza around the top half of the grid, 14th for Torrent.
And then 15th, it's Tom Parker, Parker Ladd, as we'll call him in the CSG here, filling in for Euler. A very good start for him in the points. Tumala, 16th for Nijo, then it's Nick Rowland, 17th for Simcraft. Then you've got Gergo Baldi down in 18th for Hawkeye, so we'll see if he can come through the field a bit uncharacteristically down the field for him. Liberia is 19th for Nijo, then it's Canton for the Warren 20th. Kieran Ryan, the old Fox, and for Phoenix in 21st. Bart DeVos, the Colonel, 22nd. Roy Schroten for Woods, 23rd. Mark Wicks, sorry, for Colonel, is 24th. Mikko Yakinen is 25th for Phoenix. Hannah Horrell is 26th for Green Stripes. JJ down 27th for Cones Engineering with that imposed bid penalty. And then DeWalt now rounds out the field Green Stripes in 28th.
They make their way around that final chicane onto the grid, and really those Phoenixes need to improve on those positions, as they are one of the most developed cars on the grid. And those drivers have not quite made the best efforts of that. Their front people have been on the grid for a long time. It's going to be coming up for the lights very shortly. It is 66 laps of high octane action from Quintin Plain, Thomas Hinds and myself, Simon Smith. The action is about to get going very shortly. Here come the lights then. GPVWC Superleague race at Barcelona, Spain is off and away. Lopez gets a much better off the line start than Canapino, but Fidock's beat a lot of them. Pushka's going down the order very quickly. There's a lot of smoke behind as they come steaming down to turn 1. Canapino goes to the inside, Lopez around the outside, Fidock up the middle, 3 into 1. Is it going to work? Just about. Someone's off very wide towards the back. It's Parker and Baldi that have skipped turn 1, but they both rejoined without any further trouble. And it is Canapino that leads the way from Fran Lopez, Fidock third. Then it is Missilus, Weeks and Cooper, Petrovicius, Pushka down to 10th, 9th position, sorry, once it cycles itself out, battling with Petrovicius and Redshaw. Pushka down again as Florian Geyer goes past him too. So out of the top 10 he goes as Yartime deals some blows further back through the field into the far chicane. And they're still managing to just about all keep it on the road. But a very good start there by Canapino to take it away from Pushka, who's down outside the top 10.
Indeed, so it was an interesting start there to see, as you said. Fidock really got off the line very well. Very good stuff from the two guys ahead to keep ahead of him, because he got an absolute blinder of a start. I did notice, by the way, at the start that Canapino was a bit late on reaction. It seemed to be why he had a bit of a slow start. He was good very noticeably slower off the line than Lopez in terms of reacting to lights. So that was probably one of the reasons why he had a slow start. But he's got the lead now, as it should now, the leaderboard update when Jarl goes across the line. Got a bit of a timing thing going on there. As, oh no, speak of Jarl, there he goes. Oh no. So Woods have got a retirement here straight away. He's gone. So shame for Jarl there. He's straight out of the race. Don't know what's happened there. Maybe a disconnection perhaps. But big dramas there for Woods. But Canapino continues to lead from Fran Lopez, and David Fidock right behind. There's a nice little train right there for the lead. And look at that, it goes all the way down to even to the edge of the points nearly. So very close right now at the start of the race.
Well, two big problems further back. Mikko Jakinen's missing his front left wheel from 27th position. He pops into the pits. Roy Schroten is coming for a new front wing. I saw him lose that down at the end of sector 2. So real problems there for Woods. Yartayan was actually, I was watching it nearly as he was going round. It was as if the game had not caught up with him. And so he had exactly the same issue nigh on in Melbourne as well, and in wherever we were before, Bahrain. So issues there as Weeks and Redshaw go battling for what will be 6th or 7th. Tyan is still showing as the leader. That will sort itself out, but clearly there is something wrong with his game in that car, because that's 3 races in a row that have been ruined by that, and it's stopped a potential resurge there. So the Woods curse continues on as Canapino goes round. And there we go, now he's sinking down the order. Canapino versus Lopez across the line. Canapino has to go defensive down his long straight on the Barcelona circuit. Reminiscence of early 90s performance. Lopez goes round the outside and he's got it before he even gets to turn 1. Lower wings from Lopez, something we've seen from that guy before. And he's done Canapino. Fidock, then Missilus, Cooper. Redshaw got round Weeks for 6th and 7th down at turn 1-2. Then Petrovicius, Pushka, Gaia, Sven de Vries up to 11th for target as a late race calling there. He wasn't supposed to be racing. He was talking about being an engineer for us earlier. Then it's Roland, Klumbis, Kaza, Parker rounding out your points scorers. And Mikko Yakinen, amazingly, got a wheel re-put back on his car and is outgoing again. So miracles can happen.
Indeed, and just keeping an eye on Phoenix. They're still down the field. Of course, you got Yakinen there having that issue with the wheel, and Kieran Ryan, the old Fox, is in 17th, so he has gone up slightly, but you know, he's just still outside the points. And again, as we noticed, that car is very well developed, so it's very interesting to see they're just not getting the pace, and their car is very, very well developed. But Fran Lopez still leads, but Canapino, of course, down the straight, he's going to have the slipstream here, so I wouldn't be surprised if he tries and gets back. But it's interesting. I wonder how feisty they're going to be, because it's a 66-lap race. It's a very long race. So, you don't want to be going too aggressive early on here, as Redshaw's got a pack behind him, or actually Weeks, sorry. He's got Philip Pushka behind him. He's trying to come back to the field there in 8th place. But Gifford on the lead here. As Canapino looks to the inside, but no, he's not going to do it. He's just poking out, having a look, maybe just playing the patient game, perhaps, because he knows that if he tries to get the slipstream past, he'll just get slipstream straight back again. It'll just be a constant chain of passing between those two.
It will indeed, as Pushka got past Weeks for 7th and 8th positions further back. Sven de Vries also got past Florian Gaia for 10th and 11th at the end of Sector 2 in the previous lap too. So changes all up front, and it's all because they keep bunching up around this third and final sector. Other changes, James Johnson takes 20th from Cantonen, who just retook it back past again down the outside of turn 4. So all kicking off there. And yes, it's an interesting one, as the field has already separated out into several little clumps. But Lopez leads the way then from Canapino, who doesn't quite have the straight line speed to Lopez, and maybe that could rule him out nice and early on. But with better tyre wear perhaps around the corners, Canapino may find himself in a better position later on. The interesting ones for me at the moment is the ginormous train from Redshaw back. So you've got Redshaw 6, Pushka 7, Weeks 8, Petrovicius 9, who's really holding that train up the most. He's got de Vries and Gaia, and that's actually allowing Roland and his little gang to get onto the back of this. And here they come down the straight. It's going to be an argy-bargy. Pushka onto the back of Redshaw for 67. Redshaw goes defensive at the last moment. Pushka trying to go around the outside, and this is more for these two. Oh, Redshaw pushes him way out wide. Pushka says, I'll have the curb then, why don't you? That's marginal as to whether he had anywhere else to go and maybe had to give that position back. I'm not sure. Redshaw takes it side by side into turn 4. Pushka late in the brakes locks it up, has to drop behind. Weeks and Petrovicius are side by side just behind in 8th and 9th as well. And Jordan proved last time out that he can handle pressure now after some races where he certainly could not. He's very much an improved man as this battle for the top 10 positions rages on, dropping them further behind the top 4 though.
Yeah, indeed. Look at that gap now in the top 4. They're just starting the gap now. It's 2.8 seconds. Actually, the top 5 are even getting away. 3.1 now. And it's about 2 seconds left for Redshaw. He's got that trolley train even behind him. Oh, we spotted.
We have a Kerno in the wall. It's Bart de Vos P25, and that was down at turn 4. He lags out, and sorry, it's down at the far chicane. He just catches the outside line, smashes into the barrier, loses his front wing, and that's a nightmare for Bart de Vos, who was running quite nicely up until that point. Back up to that massive gaggle though, and it's all guns a-blazing again. Yeah,
indeed, and interesting to see as well, by the way, target both guys in points right now in 10th and 8th and 10th. Sven can go defensive here in 10th against Gaia. Goes to the inside. It's going to be a trademark move that's probably going to be on all race long. Keep an eye out for that one. Being routine. Oh, Sven just gets across. It's okay. They didn't make contact there, so it works out. He holds the position there. That's the 10th spot there with Target and Nordgren going at it. And Weeks also is trying to defend hard from Petrovicius as well, just ahead. So the Target's having a real fight here in this early stage of the race.
Well, what this has done is all of the cars that had dropped off the back of this gaggle are slowly closing up, and they're kind of doing a bit of a Noah's Ark 2x2 behind this leading quintet you've got going on as Gaia and de Vries go at it again for 10 and 11. That chicane is not an overtaking manoeuvre, unless you're both committed to it, because it closes on exit.
Oh, so no! Oh no! Weeks is round. Weeks is round. He's coming right in front of the field.
Oh!
I think everyone managed to dodge that. Yeah.
16, he drops down. Petrovicius was off there too, and let's see if we can get a replay on that one, because is it? Oh yeah,
I think
he dropped it on his own.
Yeah, I was going to say that's why I just caught the end of it as he was spinning. It looks like he just got too much curb and just went around. And amazing, honestly, that he didn't get taken out because he spun right in front of the field across a blind right-hander. So lucky, really, he should be counting his chickens, really, because that was very, very lucky indeed. So he gets away with no damage, I would assume. It didn't look like he got a hit. We'll find out in the lap if he hits, but I think he got away with no damage. Let's find out. Yeah, he's fine. Oh, hello, who's that spinning there? There's a DeWalt Nell there in the green stripes, just having a little bit of a moment there at the chicane, but Weeks at least continues on, but he's dropped down to 20 seconds. He's got quite a mountain to climb now to get back into the points and get a good result.
Definitely. Kenny Liberia had gone off the track down at turn 1 as well. Rejoins an 18 just behind Kieran Ryan.
Just saying for third, sorry, I just noticed a little whack there. Like Fidock and Cooper, they're getting quite physical there for third place over the podium. I think it was Cooper having a go down the inside of the hairpin and gave Fidock a nice little whack to the side pod there. So a bit of aggression between these two. And this is dropping them behind that leading duet of Lopez and Canapino as Fidock going defensive there against Cooper. And also Missilis is right behind him as well. Just loving this battle here as he hangs along in 5th place. Impressive again, by the way, by Red Archer. They're in 5th and 11th at the moment, so some more good points than that.
Definitely, and Red Archer not necessarily.
Ooh.
Oh,
retirement too.
Oh, who's that?
Yakinen there, retirement to an accident apparently, so I wonder if he had another off or something there, so shame for him.
Well, he'd lost his wheel earlier on, so he should be lucky that he was able to keep going regardless, as on the end of lap 7, start of lap 8, it is Lopez from Canapino, Fidock currently in 3rd with Cooper 4, Missilis is in 5th, then it is Redshaw just ahead of Philip Pushko in 6th and 7, and it's De Vries Gaia, then Roland now up to 10, ahead of Petrovicius, who had to slow down to avoid Weeks and go across the gravel. He done well not to spin and cause an issue for himself. Then it's Parker, Columbus, who just got round Gergo Boldy, who's up to 14, Peter Kaza in 15, then the Nijos of Tamala ahead of Kenny Liberia, who's retaken Kieran Ryan for 17th and 18th. Then it's Cantonen, and James Johnson's recovered up to 20th so far. There's a little gaggle there, as Bart de Vos leaves the game on a disconnect as well, although he'd lost his front wing, so I wonder if that was a call it a day more than anything else. There's Cooper on the back of Fidock.
Oh, hello, got the bells. Yeah, still going off the 3rd, yeah, look at that, and this is in the final sector, so we'll be going to the straight in a couple of corners' time. We're interested to see if he slipstreams back past. Fidock doesn't have the slipstream of Canapino here to defend against, so he's going to be pretty helpless down the straight. We'll find out here how it goes. I'll be interested to see how Missilis goes here, if he maybe takes advantage as these guys go tooth and nail into turn 1. So let's have a look now. The Fidock actually, yeah, look at that, he's actually staying ahead. So obviously got quite low wing there, Fidock, possibly compared to Cooper especially. So Fidock quite easily staying ahead there actually. That was interesting. I would have thought that Cooper would have been all over him, but there you go. So Fidock holds that 3rd spot, and I mean, we know him, he's Mr. Consistent, so we're interested to see if he can keep that and get another solid result for his championship this year.
E10 is causing an absolute chuggaroo of a collection of cars. It was Roland versus Petrovicius versus Parker down at turn 1. And again, these drivers all out in different teams, different car upgrades, all trying to prove themselves. And Roland has really been anonymous so far in 2015, not able to really get on top of this 2015 car. Whereas you've got Parker trying to prove himself, and Petrovicius to some degree as well, to show that they are new kids on the block. Columbus, leading in the torrent, is just climbing onto the back of that with Boldy and Casa not too far behind. Let's find that quite an interesting gaggle of cars to follow, and we'll see how long they all stay like that, as they're all defending and attacking in one move with each other. So there could be fireworks there. And of course, down this big long straight, one of the reasons that could be the difference between these straight line speeds is that everyone has different engine upgrades, and there's just been sent a message by Phoenix where we know that they're one of the most developed cars, but they're using a Trinity engine, which is the least developed engine, and that could well be holding them back down this mammoth straight, one of the longest in the circuits that we go to.
Yeah, indeed, that's a very good point there, which definitely would explain the lack of speed here, especially here. Ooh.
Petrovicius and Roland 10 and 11. They were side by side. God knows how Roland kept ahead of that, but this turn 1 is going to cause a cropper for someone very shortly, because they're leaning into each other, and this isn't BTCC racing, this isn't tin tops, this is open wheels, and you can only get away with that if you're doing it in a very controlled environment, and this isn't going to be controlled for very much longer.
Yeah, indeed. That pack now is actually down to 15th. So from 10th down to 15th is all gaggled together. So I'll be interested to see if that gets a bit more physical as the race goes on. Hopefully not for their sake. But I'm interested to note that Nibro 16th and 17th are just outside the points. They're just not quite on the back of that pack. So I don't know if they'll really challenge. But now, if people have problems or if people retire, they could potentially get into the points, which I'm sure would be a relief for them, seeing that there's sort of the switch of fates here compared to last season. They're nowhere near the sort of pace they had during the season that was 2014. So I'm interested to see how they develop as the season goes on. As I saw some smoke there, I think it was just someone mocking up. But here we go down the straight. We're interested to see if Petrovicius here can challenge Roland. So go down the straight here. Will Roland go defensive? Surely you'd have to. No, not going defensive. There we go. Might try and hold it. Yeah, he might try to go on the outside too here, by the way. Oh no, Petrovicius gets it done before the turn 1, and there you go. Petrovicius up to 10th. So Red Archie gained a spot.
Clearly lap 10, then the lap to do the moves. Pushka gets past Redshaw for 6th and 7th. Then Petrovicius gets past Roland for 10th and 11th. Next up for him is Parker, who's got Columbus, Boldy and Casa all behind. Tumala's nearly on the back. It's Boldy that's locking up his brakes everywhere. I'm not quite sure what's happened there. He's on a torrent sandwich, regardless. Also, interestingly, James Johnson is down to 22nd. He's been off down at turn 1, and that was a shame because he'd called himself up to 18th by the time that had happened and was actually lapping on the leader's pace. So interesting for that. And I think it's worthwhile shouting out actually that the top 21 drivers are still under 30 seconds from the leader at the end of the first stint. So we don't have too many lapped cars here today, I think.
Oh yeah, indeed, very good point. I would have to agree. And also interesting to note, Ben Hole there in 19th. I think it's worth a little bit of a shout out there. I mean, as we've said, Green Stripes is by far the least developed car in the field, and he's seen there in 19th. He's not too far off that pack actually. I mean, he's 26 seconds off the lead, so not too bad from him. You know, impressive stuff. You know, just staying out of trouble, and there he is in 19th. So hopefully, for his sake, he has a good race and can have some good results for Green Stripes. Because by the looks of their upgrade state, they probably need a good result here to really improve that car because it's looking a bit dire at the moment.
It is indeed. He's got Jordan Weeks on the back of him. It looks as if Jordan's about to try and pick off Mr. Horrell himself as they come down to turn 1. Target versus Green Stripes, and Jordan thinking better of it. He'll try and see if he can pick him off later around the lap, maybe at turn 4 is the next preferred measure to have a go at an overtake. I was finding turn 6 seemed to be a good place to pick off people during my race, but then it was a wet dry one, and I suppose there's different lines available for people to do so. So 25 of the 28 runners are still left here at the end of lap 11, start of lap 12. Roy Schroten just being lapped. He's been in for a pit stop and he's had a spin or two as well. So it's not been the finest of outings for our Schroty friend. But Lopez has got round him before Canapino can get round that chicane. So that's only going to help Fran Lopez, who's leading, remember, Adonis Engineering, a brand new team that came in this year. And Alex Cooper from 4th position and David Fidock from 3rd are into the pits on lap 12. And that's very early, and that's at least Scream's 3-stop strategy.
Yeah, indeed, it's in that window, isn't it? 3-stop might be their plan. They use that pace. Oh, look at this. Oh, yeah, look at them all. Wow, there's a whole bunch of them in, yeah. So it looks like 3-stop very, very popular. There's just traffic jam almost in pit lane as they all dive in. I'm interested to see maybe if some others try that 2-stop, but I mean, with so many people doing a 3-stop strategy, it would be a bit dangerous, I would think, to try that 2-stop because you would just lose too much pace with warm tyres, I would have thought. Yeah,
and I think what we've seen throughout this field is Jordan Weeks gets past Ben Horrell for 15th position down at turn 1, and Redshaw rejoins directly behind them, but ahead of the Kieran Ryan Florian Gaia battle that was going on down into turn 1. Gaia also coming out for pits. You're going to need people to be all 3 stopping because of how close this field is that if you're going to pit that early, you're now actually putting yourself out potentially into traffic. And I think that this into pit stoppery as opposed to interplanetary pit stopping could really be the coming or the making of people, because if you come out behind a Roland train where everyone's squabbling with each other, you've effectively lost your undercut. And we know that the undercut is generally the way to go this year with the tyres of how they played out.
Yeah, indeed, and just to note, Canapino now half a second behind Lopez, so he really gained on him in that last lap. I mean, maybe Lopez made a little bit of an error there, but he's all over him now. Unless Lopez may be really struggling with tyres, that could be a possibility there. He was going pretty hard through that first stint. He was maintaining a consistency of 2-second gap for most of that stint, and maybe the tyres are falling off, but It could be a little battle at the front, and that would, as we were saying there about strategy, that would really help the guys who 3-stopped. Oh,
P8 and P9. Tom Parker,
Oof.
Nick Rowland and Columbus all going at it, and that didn't work out very well. One was going across the anti-cuts down at turn 1, but Tom Parker is ahead of Rowland, and Columbus looks like he'll be following through very shortly. But Canapino right onto the back of Lopez now for the lead of this Grand Prix. And I think you might be right, Tom. I think Lopez's tyres are done for, and Canapino's kept them a little bit nicer. He's given him just about the room down at turn 9. Gets it through, takes the lead of the race. A beautiful move there by Augustin Canapino, showing his class and his prowess, and Lopez there chose not to completely fight it doggedly, as what we've seen Lopez do previously. And I wouldn't be surprised if Lopez dives to the pits, and Dean does. Yeah. I think you were right there. He punched into them Durex a bit too much.
Yeah, indeed. And Canapino, of course, it seems like really must have held his tyres quite well. So that's an interesting thing to note for the season ahead. Canapino, of course, a bit of an experienced foe, and of course must be able to save those tyres, which is very helpful, as you said, because these tyres, they're a bit more wear a bit quicker this season than prior ones before. But interested to see where Fran comes out. I'm just going to keep an eye out. Where is he? Where is he popping out there? He's 6th. He has come out. Yeah, he's actually beaten Fidock out. He's actually come out in a nice little spot though. He's got a nice gap to Columbus, so good stop. I must say, good stop from Fran. They're good spotting to see that gap and put him out right. Nice little gap now, so he can really push on these new tyres and get some good pace going there to maybe get back at Canapino.
Unlike the Redshaw and Gaia battle that was going on before, 9th, 10th, 11th, they've got Jordan Weeks in the middle, and Weeks is actually trying to basically push them off. In fact, he's just let Florian Gaia through. I think he's just realised actually that's probably not the battle that he's battling, and he's losing time on that, so that's all kind of resolved itself. Canapino then leads at the moment from Misalis in 2nd, Pushka 3rd, De Vries 4th, Columbus up to 5th, then it's Lopez the first of the stopped drivers ahead of Fidock, who is ahead of Cooper. Now that was as they were before, or was that a switcheroo of position?
I think that was how they were, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Pretty sure Fidock could hold on to that podium and he was trying to fight off Cooper, if I remember correctly, but my memory can be infamously bad at times, but I'm pretty sure he was ahead of him, yeah. And interesting, also, just going to point out, Canapino staying out, so not really seeming to be threatened by the undercut. He must really be keen for that 2-stop, because at this point, I mean, it's a few laps now after everyone stopped, he would react. You would assume he would. If you were going to react, you'd react a lap or two after. But he's staying out, so I mean, maybe he really is thinking this 2-stop's the way to go.
Indeed, Pushka and Columbus, the only other two at the top of the field that are. Lopez up to 4th, Fidock 5th. Cooper is out just ahead of Davidus Misalis. Misalis gains overall in terms of time. But he can get himself up to temperature. Everyone's come out on the option tyres, by the way, except for Kenny Lybeer, who's gone on to the primes. It's interesting there that Misalis has gained in terms of time, if not position, because once he's up to temperature, he could have the legs on him long term. Redshaw's in 8th, Gaia 9th, then De Vries, Petrovicius, Parker, Boldy, Kasser and Rowland. So Nick Rowland loses out because Kasser and Boldy have leapfrogged him in pit stops where Rowland was busy battling other people. They've not really got that far up the road, but the positions are what counts, I suppose, as you continue on. And Canapino now finally in this time, as is Pushka.
Oh boy, sorry, I just was looking there. Boldy there had a big fishtail moment. I can't believe he caught that. The rear just kicked over like it was trying to kick him off a ball right there. It was unbelievable. Just massive tail moment out of the left-right there at the sort of middle end of the track. But he managed to hold on to it, and he stays in 13th. But that was a big moment for him. Quite credit to him holding on to it, as that's a bit of a battle pack there for 13th. As I'm just going to pitted. Nope, still going. So
nope, he's been in and out.
That 2-stop. Oh, has he? Oh, right. Okay. Oh, yep. Right, it's actually, yeah, look at that, all the guys who are out have pitted as well, including Columbus as well, he's been in. So, yeah, he stays out ahead. In fact, look at that, he's still got the gap, so he's managed to make it work. There you go, so the undercut not working for Fran.
No, it did not work for Redshaw either. He got caught up in traffic, so Pushka has actually increased his gap over Lewis Redshaw. And with that Gaia now to 9, De Vries to 10, Petrovicius 11, Parker, Nindigas Columbus, although has stayed out longer, and that's kept him ahead of Gergo Boldy. Petr Kazar and Nick Rowland battling over 14th, 15th. Rowland goes in deep, locks up his tyres. That won't help him out. Mikhail Tsumala's joined onto the back of that group, though, in the Nijo, so there's points potentially for Nijo. You can get something out of that. Canton and in 17th for Vod Bull. really struggling in comparison to his teammate today. Then it's Kieran Ryan, Jordan Weeks, Ben Horrell lands at the top 20 ahead of Dewald Nell, James Johnson, Mark Wicks, Kenny Livebeer and Roy Schroten, the last running rider currently on this track. He's unlapped at the moment because of everyone coming in and doing their first stops. But look at Lopez, he quite fancies having a go back at it, and we know from previously he's got more straight line speed, and look at the way how he just gets sucked up into the slipstream of the rear wing. Canapino goes defensive, Fran Lopez down the outside, he's going to be later on the brakes, can he go around the outside? Yes he can! My goodness me, now this absolutely shows the difference between driver style, setup and car control. But Lopez is clearly going to gun it, but will only be able to gun it for a shorter period of time. He'll eat up his tyres and hope to cling on again, but Canapino will be there at the end of that stint to try and punish him and get it back, and that's a fascinating prospect for later.
Yeah, indeed, and also keep in mind, look who also is there. David Fidock is only a second and a half behind, so the defending champion, he's there again. He's always just there or thereabouts. This is why, again, we said before, why one of the reasons why he won the championship last year. He's always there or thereabouts, and he's there again in third place, right behind that battle. So I keep an eye out for him, and even Cooper and Missless behind, they're only, what, 3.5 seconds off the pace, and even, Pushka's not far behind. It's it runs really close. Like, the top 10, they're only 13 seconds off the lead, back to 10th, which is Petrovicius right now for Red Archer. So very close indeed. And I'll just a shout out to Sven de Vries, the target in 9th place. So for a fill-in drive, he's doing quite well.
Doing a very good job. Gergo Boldy doing a poor job because he just had a half spin. He's just another half spin, but he's lost 3 places in doing so. Dropped from 13th to 16th and out of the points. That's not what we expect from the Hawkeye driver when his teammate is now joining the lead battle. Once again, it's a bit of a... We've got one Nord Zone, one Adonis. Well, actually, Guy is there. He's just 9 seconds off, and the field is very close. But only one Adonis doing very well, only one Hawkeye doing very well, only one Midnight doing very well. So we're starting to get a little bit of a yin-yang effect because the field is so close. The top 7 people covered by 9 seconds. Very much all to play for. Lap 19 of 66.
Yeah, indeed, as Cooper also is still under pressure from Missless right there, for 4th, and then Pushka not far behind, and Redshaw not far behind, as we're saying. All just very close for it, they're all not far behind each other, so it could be anyone's game, really. I think one of the closest bells I was seeing, actually down in entry the points there, behind Canton, there's a bit of a battle pack. Got Kieran Ryan there and Jordan Weeks, who's trying to still come through the field after that mistake early on. He's there at the back of that pack. They're all trying to get past Canton. As we said, he's differing fortunes compared to Pushka. Down there just outside the points, whereas Pushka clearly in the points. So the differing fortunes of Oddball, and they have the most developed car in the field by a decent margin too over the rest of the field. So they've got a very good car under their belt. Pushka really utilising it, whereas Canton not really seem to be able to do it right now. As Weeks going down the inside of Ryan, who's very submissive there. That was very un-Kieran Ryan-like, but there you go. Maybe he just knew that wasn't a fight that you should fight, which is fair enough because Weeks has got a lot of pace here. But we're interested to see if he can now get past Canton, who goes wide. Yep, wide in as you can. It should really line up for Weeks perfectly here. It should be a pretty easy pass here down the straight. Much better exit. And he's going to have better speed, no doubt, as well, depending on his wing settings. Let's have a look. In the slipstream of those, we said Vodball's car very well developed. The Targets is pretty well developed too this season, in stark contrast to last year. He's down the inside. Is he going to make it stick? He's not really far enough up. Let's have a look here. See if he squeezes him out like they keep doing. Ooh, almost tries to, but Canton holds on. So there's an interesting battle here for 17th outside the points.
And why is Boldy just limping around? They're going to all have him. It's bizarre. Boldy gets out of the way. I'm not sure what's
Something's
happening
going on
with
there.
I wonder if he's got some kind of technical problem with a wheel or a pedal or something. Maybe lost force feedback.
Yeah, it's either that or I was thinking maybe he's got some sort of damage, maybe he's had some sort of contact, suspension damage perhaps, or steering damage, but it does seem like a technical thing because you're right, he's just dropping back, and I mean, we've been noticing, haven't we, doing a few uncharacteristic errors in the last few laps, so something's going on there, but that's a bit of a shame for Hawkeye. Differing fortunes, as we've been saying, with a lot of teams here, and Hawkeye won it.
Definitely is up front. Fidock still stalking Canapino. We'll keep you up to date with that one. Cooper's got Davidus Missilis all over the back of him for 4 and 5 as well, which I find an interesting battle. Missilis there very much under the radar towards the second part of 2014, but was putting in some impressive results. And with this Red Archer car finally taking shape, into a much more sturdier effort for 2015. It's really allowing Davidas to show his mettle and what he is made of. And it could very well be balls of steel as Cantonen versus Weeks for 16th and 17th. Down to turn 1, Cantonen trying to go round the outside of Jordan. Jordan had already got him. But Cantonen not giving in. And Ascari may not be having his finest moments in terms of pace, but he's certainly not lacking some racecraft to try and get himself back past again. Kieran Ryan taking a little peeky-boo out, but not deciding to go for it.
Yeah, as there goes Boldy, just a massive crash into turn 1, 22nd now. He's lost both front wheels. I reckon it must have been a pedal issue because he didn't even brake at all there. He just went straight into the wall. Although, that's weird. That's weird because I noticed down the straight he was going very slowly. He actually almost came to a standstill and nearly got clouted by, I think it was Ben Horrell and JJ there who came out behind him. But that was very interesting, very strange. So it must have been some kind of a technical issue. He's just called it a day. So bad times for Boldy, and again, just differing fortunes here as Fidock is up there in third, having an absolute crack of a race. Meanwhile, Boldy out of the race with what seems to be, you'd assume, technical issues. So some troubles for Hawkeye.
And when is Gergo Boldy ever going to get a bloody break? The poor guy, if it's not a disconnection, now he's got some kind of other technical difficulty. And you have to think, without trying to fan the flames of drama as James Johnson and Ben Horrell battle over 19th and 20th, it's what gives, because if you know your internet is terrible and it's going to give out nigh on every second or third race, something's changed very dramatically somewhere. What happened there? I think it was just a flux of everything as Horrell goes for Johnson side by side. It's how many times do you give someone the amount of disconnects that they have and now other issues before you go, actually, you're not a safe bet regardless of how fast you are?
Yeah, it's a conundrum, really. It really is an interesting conundrum to consider as, really, hopefully it's like it's not some kind of an issue that's suppressing one that's going to, add to his woes, because he's really been certainly unlucky with disconnects, but hopefully for his sake, if it is some kind of an issue, he can get it sorted, but I would have to assume, as we said, it's got to be a technical issue just from A, how he crashed, and B, just what was going on. You would have to assume it's something technical, maybe a
like
pedal or wheel.
Duck open throttle to me, by the way how it was going around. Roy Schroten in for his third stop in 21 laps, not quite sure what he's been up to, but that Woods driver, the only lapped car at the moment, and he'll be going 2 down very shortly if he continues going like that. But I think with Gergo, I know I've just been very harsh and said that must be something that a team boss would think of, but when he's actually out on track, generally he's lighting it up quite nicely, so we hope that those problems will get sorted out quite soon.
Yeah, indeed. As still Cooper, by the way, under pressure still from Missless. So Missless really applying the blowtorch here, but I'm going to guess that Cooper must have pretty low wing settings because he keeps staying ahead of him, which is interesting to note there. And as again, interesting to note the battle between Simcraft and Red Archer, which is not something we would have seen last year, but here we are in the mysterious ways of 2015, which we still don't understand, but it's cool. We're okay with it. It's interesting, so I don't mind. So as he's still he's actually going defensive down to turn 1 here. He's got a nice slipstream here, Missless. Let's have a look. He'll go around the long way. Brave, if he gets this done this way, will Cooper squeeze him out? No, gives him room. He's going to get done, surely not. Oh, the bit of contact there is no. Cooper holds on, but nearly had it there. It was very brave stuff to get a move done around the outside into there.
Definitely, and it can be done. Oh, he's going to go around the outside here.
No
This
way.
was my favourite move in Formula Challenge, going around the outside to have the inside for the next turn. And I think he's going to try it. He's been cut up there by Cooper slightly, gave him enough room, Missless backed out of it, but the sheer late braking that he had and the ability to carry that speed round, actually quite astounding.
Yeah, that was very, very, it's not something you usually see going around the outside of that corner. It's a very, very hard one to do, but he nearly made it stick, so Missless here clearly has pace, so I do suspect he's being at least slightly held up by Cooper. By the judging of that move, I'd say he definitely has better pace by at least some margin. So he'll hopefully at least will get past soon and maybe be able to claw into Fidock's gap there. He's got about a 4-second gap up the road there in third. And then also this battle, by the way, is getting pushed back on the back of him again. He's in 6th there again, so another sort of consistent result. 2nd, 6th at the moment. A long way to go, but another consistent result here to be on the cards for him, which is really fantastic for his championship hopes.
It is indeed, as Cooper goes defensive yet again. Missless once again has to pull out the side. It's going to repeat of last time, but this time he's a full car length ahead. Can he close off before he gets to turn one? Yes, he does. Beautifully done, beautifully executed. Devidas Missilis takes Alex Cooper for fourth position for Red Archer. Lovely stuff for him, as Florian Gaia in the pits from what was 8th position, rejoining just at the lower end of the points. Cooper now under attack from Pushka. He's gone very wide down into turn 4. Pushka's going for the outside into turn 5. Can he hold it round? There's grip there if you can get it. It means that he's going to have to go side to side into this horrible chicane, which has got a terrible bump in the middle, and they somehow both managed to come out the other side. Cooper, the discretion, the better part of valour. Pushka gets through, and wow, Alex Cooper dropping back. I wonder if his tyres are starting to struggle slightly. Lopez too clear of Canapino. We'll start to see that contract soon if Lopez does what he done last time. But that is Missilis and Pushka now clear. Redshaw's a further 3 seconds back, so Cooper's got some breathing space for now. And Redshaw was coming under attack from Florian Gaia, but Florian's actually come out right at the back of the Columbus Casa Roland Tumala squabble, and so that traffic will not help him, as into the pits comes David Fidock, Alex Cooper and Elliot Redshaw.
Indeed, as they all come to pits now. We should see where they come out. I'm actually just watch Fidock here, see if he comes out in a nice clear spot, see if they manage to engineer a nice little gap in the field for him. He's just coming to get to pits now. Looks like he's just going to come behind Parker and Columbus, which is it's right in the middle of that. He's actually literally right in the middle of that. It's not the best place to come out. He's now going to get held up by them as they're battling that out. So not the best place to come out there. He may have been hoping for a slightly quicker stop there, because if he'd got a quicker stop and beaten Parker, it would have been in a very nice sort of clear space there. So not quite going to plan there for Fidock, but I mean he's still in a good spot in third place. Has a good gap as well, of course, to fourth. So he has about 4 or 5 seconds to play with. So it's not end of the world stuff for him, but he could lose some time.
His problem will be is that Columbus was literally the second last guy to come into the pits last time round, as Gaia takes Tumala for 13th and 14th. Redshaw right behind, so Florian Gaia has leapfrogged Lewis Redshaw in all of that. So that's a position gain there for Gaia, and there's a Tumala in between them for Nijo. So that will have not worked out well for Brittany's favour. And Columbus has a go at Tom Parker. Parker, they're running out of rubber, I think, and time to do anything. Everyone else going round again. De Vries goes through. Petrovicius will too, I'm sure. But if Parker doesn't dive in this time, Columbus, I'm certain, will go round again, and this is only going to hurt David Fidock. In fact, they both go round again, and that's Fidock's worst nightmare so far, as Redshaw could not get round Gaia into the chicane. He's actually lost on quite a bit of time, so definitely Florian Gaia working out as Fidock gets past Columbus for 7th, 8th, 9th, 8th position he grabs.
Yeah, indeed. I think Columbus there being very submissive there. He didn't really try and fight that. I think he knows it's not his fight to fight, so he's just going to let him take it. Not take up the tyres, not take up a potential accident. Just let him go and do fear and race, which in the long run, I mean, as we know, we're only 39% for this race, so, you know, still not even halfway yet. So a long way to go. So probably a smart call in the end, as now he's got to pass Parker now, Fidock. So we'll see if the ladness of Parker can defend against the consistency of Fidock. But there's a bit of a gap actually up to Petrovicius there, and then Sven de Vries, of course, is 5th, but he hasn't stopped yet, so he'll probably come out in sort of 10th, 11th or so, right amongst that sort of Roland Casa kind of fight there. There's actually Coop coming up on Roland now, so we should see if there's any sort of team orders here. Maybe Coop will be able to be let by Roland, which is a sensible thing, because he is ahead on the road. Yep, there you go, Roland's getting out of the way, which is fair enough, because Coop is ahead on stops. As Tumala's still in the points. Of course, we've got a bit of a mix-up with stops now, but I'm pretty sure he was 15th before the stops with Boldy's troubles. So Nijo in the points, so he's got, well, a point, so this is better than none. So, you know, at least something here for Nijo, some potential points on the cards.
So what's interesting for me is up the front, Canapino took 7/10 of a second out of Lopez last time by, and he's taken another 4/10 out in the first sector alone. The other thing that's dawned on me, 4 stoppers. Do we think that some of these guys are going to 4-stop? Because they've all gone for options again, and they aren't going to drag those primes kicking and screaming through half the race. So, How many are going to go for 3? How many are going to go for 4? No one's going for 2. Certainly not as, who's that? That's Tumala just rejoining in 17th position, just out of James Johnson. 4 stops. outside chance, I would have thought, coming into this race. But actually, if you want to, this is a circuit of rhythm, I think, and if you can get into that rhythm, you could potentially do quali lap after quali lap, try and get away with it as Missalus dives over the anti-cuts in the chicane in what was still third position. He continues on. But what's your thoughts on that? 4 stops.
I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. I mean, you'll have fresh tyres, which of course means better pace, but you'll lose that time in the stop. So I guess it depends. I mean, maybe, you know, they'll have obviously race engineers for the drivers. They'll be in there in the team speak in their channels, talking to them, you know, trying to figure out, you know, which way do we go? Do we go 3, 4 stops? I mean, they might have figured out the magic. They might have done testing, done some race stints, and figured out that the 4 stop is actually quicker than the 3 stop. But I mean, that's you know, it's not including traffic. It's not including, you know, possible mistakes and stuff. So it's I don't know. It's a tough one to call. But personally, I'd go 3 stops. I think 4 stops is too much. But we'll keep an eye on that. As Roland, by the way, under pressure from Guy here tonight.
Canapino takes the lead.
Oh, there we go. Yep, gets past Fran down to the hairpin again. Same move as last time.
Yeah, perfectly done. Lopez was a bit ragged coming out of the Kamsa corner, and that did not help him at all. And is that Gaia off? He's lost the front wing. Gaia in 13th position. I noticed down at turn 1, he smacked the back of Nick Rowland, and then Rowland pushes him off. Or was Rowland losing out on wing? That's very awkward. And if that's the second, to me, he jinks off. That's difficult. I don't want to suspect anyone. Nick Rowland is a long-term member of the community, but as Gaia goes off the track, he's going to smack the wall, and I think that will be the end of the Nord Zone runner. And Gaia was making all of that stop. No, he's continued to go back out again, but he's certainly gone fishing. All of that, Fran Lopez is into the pits, and he's coming out just ahead of David Fidock, and Fidock has gained in terms of time, if not position, from that versus Fran Lopez. And Augustin Canapino, Davidus Missalis and Philip Pushka continue on, with Sven de Vries actually too pushing on in 4th. And I think those are going to be our 3 stoppers, and I think you could well have a Lopez, Redshaw and what was going to be Gaia on a 4.
Yeah, it looks like, just had a look at the replay as well of that Roland incident. Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one to pick. I mean, I don't know, maybe... I'm assuming he just lost the rear end, but it did look a bit, didn't really look like the usual kind of snap rear end loss. But no, we'll see after the race, I guess, and we can look at the replay in a bit more detail. But yeah, a bit of an interesting moment there. But yeah, interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how this all goes. I mean, you've got guys on different strategies, so you're going to have guys on different pace and different, sort of tactics and everything like that. So this could be very interesting end of the race. But yeah, Fran Lopez, exact same thing as last time, just faded at the end of the stint as Missalis comes in now for Red Archers and Sven de Vries as well. They're from 3rd and 4th, going to drop down now as they pit. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see, because once again, Fran Lopez, obviously not quite as good on the tyres as Canapino. It was the exact same thing as the first stint, quick off the start, but just faded at the end.
Definitely, both green stripes have been in for the pits and rejoined 20th and 21st, nose to tail, so great to team scrap.
Well, by the way, just noticed Gaia out accident, so
yes.
Yeah, go on there for Nordjone. So again, differing fortunes once more, just like Hawkeye. So meanwhile, Canapino leading the race, his teammate out of the race. So interesting scenes here. This will be a bit of a mix-up, I'd suspect, in the team championship.
Absolutely, as Jordan Weeks into the pits, and he is going to rejoin just behind Mikhail Tumala. Tumala does go through up into 14th. Jordan Weeks now back into the points then in 15th position. So it's all working itself back out again after that early problem for himself. So Augustin Canapino then, lap 30 completed, onto lap 31 as he'll cross the line now, still not pitting. And this gap between when Lopez pitted and when Canapino pits continues to grow, and this will happen again if they all go for options again, which is what every single person except for now Cantonen and the 2 green stripes actually do. Nell and Ben Horrell, they're on primes. Roy Schroten started on primes after his lap 1 pit stop, so he's got that out of the way too. Everyone's going to be sticking on those primes at the end by the looks of it. I can seriously see some 4-stopping going on. So hold on to your hats, everyone. I think the pit stop men are going to be very, very, very busy, as the battle for 18th has got very busy between Cantonen and James Johnson.
Yeah, indeed, look at that. Yeah, JJ all over the back of Canson. Of course, he's on the option tyre, so he should be fast here on the fast compounds. Here we go down the inside, and should be moved on, although Canton looks back, goes to the switchback, but we're able to get it done there as JJ defends. So JJ up the spot, up to 18th now. And they're the last on the lead lap, by the way, minute 16 off the lead. And they've got a little gap up to Mark Wicks, 17th, by the way. So, you know, credit to Mark Wicks. You know, a bit off the pace, but he's there, you know, 17th, just outside the points. So it just shows if you just stay on the track, you know, don't make any mistakes, you can really benefit. So, good on him.
Definitely, as he's up to 17th at the moment. Top Kerno, is he? Yes, he is.
He's the only Kerno, yeah.
Yeah, he is the only
left
one.
anyway, yeah.
So, interesting stuff. We're just getting some team info through from some of the managers. It does look like 4 stops is the way, although some teams are going for 3 as Pushka's.
There you go. So, yep, Pushka in, and Canapino continues on. So, obviously, he is a 3-stopper. So, it'll be interesting to see how he goes throughout the races. Watch where Pushka comes out. He should come out about 6th spot there, just behind Cooper and Redshaw, just ahead of Cooper and Redshaw. He's just behind Missless. And right in the middle of that pack, actually, but he should have good pace, you know, new tyres, so I would expect him to be all over the back of Missless in the following laps.
But that's a gain, though, because he before the pit stop phase, Cooper was ahead, Pushka was behind, so that's up to 5th for Pushka. Missless right ahead in 4th. Fidock 5 seconds further up the road, and Fidock very much still on the tail of Lopez. Though so long as Pushka can get these tyres up to temperature, which to be fair around this Spanish circuit only takes about 3 corners, as Columbus and Parker side by side for 10 and 11. Parker going through, Columbus straight out of the pits, and Columbus has gone for the prime tyres, so that is the top man who is trying something different. So he's going to be fascinating to watch and see how long he can drag that one out for. He's 4 seconds ahead of his teammate Patakaza, and we'll be watching with a squinty eye on Mindegas to see where he ends up, as our leader Canapino is into the pits. He's leaving the pits now, and Lopez is just crossing the start-finish line. Who's going to get him down into turn 1?
It's looking like it just be Franny. Actually, he hasn't beaten him by much, actually. Oh, hang on. Canapino. No, he gives in. Yeah, fair call there. He doesn't want to make an accident there. That was a very awkward exit. He was right beside him, but they managed to figure that one out. But look at that. Lopez only just beat him out, so the undercut didn't really work. So it seems like this overcut nearly was working. As you said, Pushka gained. Lopez only really... Well, gained a little bit, but it wasn't that much. So, yeah, interesting. This overcut not as costly as I thought it would be. So maybe 3-stop will work. But, I mean, let's find out. But 1.4 seconds covers the top 3. So it's on for Young and Orm at the point end of the field. Something
tells me that Canapino was very lucky because he had to brake to avoid Lopez, but watch right behind, there's a Mr. David Fidock, who is very well known for being a tyre conservationist himself, and as opposed to a tree hugger. And it's an interesting dichotomy that Canapino had, because I bet he had maybe another lap or 2 perhaps on his tyres left to go, but in terms of the pace that was lacking as Dewald now drives off the circuit to get out of their way, you've got that fine knife of balancing of actually I don't want to overtake 2 guys next time round, and Fidock onto the back, and he's got into the slipstream here for the first time on Augustin Canapino. Lap 34 down to turn 1. Canapino didn't feel like he had to really defend, but Fidock, that's the first time he's kind of said to Augustin, hello, I'm here. And we know Fidock doesn't like being off a podium.
Indeed, there's also that battle for 4th really kicking off as well. Missilus, Pushka and Cooper all covered by 8/10 of a second. So we've got 2 little battle packs here at the leading trio, and then another trio behind that. So interesting to see. And again, you know, look at that, top 6 positions, all different manufacturers. In fact, it goes all the way down to 8. Yeah, top 8, all different manufacturers. Ooh, Sven there having to just pass live beer there and the hairpin, nearly contact, they go over with it. As, what are they going to look at? Oh yes, Tumala is under big pressure from Weeks there, 14th. So Weeks continuing his charge up the field.
Indeed, up into the points there for Jordan. Tumala clinging on for Nijo. Nijo having a real downturn of fortune. 2015 season needs to start turning things around, and 2 points would certainly be a steady start to it, but still well short of what we expect Nijo to be doing. They're 11th in the Constructors on 4 points at the moment, so I suppose if Tumala does come home 14th, he's keeping up tradition of an average of 2 points per race. So let's not ruin it for everyone. Is what's that? Ben Horrell moving out of the way for Nicholas Pushka and Cooper. They've now got Dewald Nell to deal with. This is the battle for 4th, 5th and 6th position. Philip Pushka, our championship leader, is starting to look a wee bit impatient behind Missilis now that he's up to temperature and can see perhaps 7 seconds up the road is the championship, the race leader. And it's amazing that after 36 laps, 8 seconds covers the top 6 and 6 different constructors, as you were saying, Tom. I think that's a real testament to GPVWC's competitive nature.
Yeah, indeed, I have to agree. I mean, I personally, it's an improvement over last year. I mean, last year it was, it was just Midnight and it was CSG and there was always just those main guys. Whereas this year, I mean, it's anybody's game and you've got Adonis, a new team, leading the race. I mean, it's unheard of nearly. And then Norjone having a return to form with Canapino, Hawkeye up there, Red Archer, Vodball, it's just Target, Torrance. You got all sorts of different mixes here this season. I really like it personally. I think it's really great. It really brings in a bunch of unpredictability to the racing here. As what we're looking at, that fight for 4th going on as Colonel it's Wicks there, just passing Wicks, slapping him there. It's going to help Nicholas there as Pushka just got held up slightly by him into turn 1 with no contact. Just a slight hold up there as Cooper nearly having contact with Wicks there, having to do a bit of evasive action to get past. But he's now dropped off the back a bit there thanks to Wicks. Indiscretions nearly as sorry, there's just a little lag spike on my end. Redshaw there just wanted to mention a bit of a quiet race for him. I mean, after Melbourne dominating until obviously the serve had the issues, but here at Catalunya really just sort of under the radar, isn't he? In 7th place, not really anywhere really for his standards.
Well, it's been an interesting one because a lot of people, I think, would say, maybe from the outside looking in, we shake up the rules every few years, it kind of resets a lot of things, and CSG that came in as a new team in 2014 and completely dominated everything, a lot of the rule changes may have been to try and sort that out and stop that team specifically being at such an advantage over other teams. And then when they came out and won straight away at Melbourne, everyone's like, what? Which is quite funny. But then we really saw where it started to pay off, where the pain started to set in, was at Bahrain, where they struggled at the latter end of the top 10. Euler was barely in the points for most of the race, and I wonder how much of that has to do with the fact that maybe he's not here racing today. I know he does have work commitments that make him run right up to the wire here. And I think it'll be very interesting to see how this team regroups, and Redshaw in 7th, Parker doing a very good job in 10th position in the second of the CSG, just 14 seconds off his teammate. It's a lot of people say, like, everyone raves a debut album and then it's the second album that you follow up with, which is always like the difficult album. You almost see it like being the second year of a sim racing career or of a sim racing team is always that difficult year of consolidation, working out where you want to go and sorting out yourself for the future.
Ooh. Oh, no, sorry, I just noticed there Kieran Ryan is out. The old fox is gone there. It looks like he had a spin or something down the main straight. Yeah. Catching the end of it now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, just caught on the dribble strip. Oh, yeah, and it goes round and big impact with the wall. So it looks like just a mistake of his own there on the exit of the final corner, which is a real shame for him. He was just outside the points, so I mean, if he'd stayed with it, he may have even been in with a point shout there for Phoenix. But it's a shame for Phoenix. Double retirement, so that's a real blow to their championship hopes. As they're trying to improve this car and try and use the engine, which, as we've said, is not really the best developed engine, and really try and get the most out of it. But a real shame there for Kieran, as, by the way, Alex Cooper and Redshaw in. They just pop out at the low end of the teams there. But yeah, no, a bit of an interesting one there for Kieran. A bit of a shame, but I mean, such is racing, isn't it, really?
I don't think he'll take kindly to you calling me old. But wow. Foxy he may be, and yep. And apparently,
Yeah.
Ben Horrell has had a puncture as well off the track with contact with Sven de Vries as well. So Ben Horrell has lost out a lot of time too. And he was busy crashing almost into his teammate Nell down at turn 1 whilst there's being lapped. So at least their team boss can breathe a sigh of relief for 5 seconds whilst that sorts itself out. Yes, uncharacteristic binning into the wall there for Kieran Ryan, but Phoenix, what do they have to do to pull themselves out from this lull? Because they have such a good base for a car, yet it's just not working out for them, Tom.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one. I mean, as we said, I mean, the engine that they are using is not the best in the field, but they still have a really good car. You know, it's one of the best developed cars in the field. So it's interesting. I mean, yes, it's lacking a bit in power, but you know, it's got that. Everything else about it seems to be pretty much, you know, on point from what I can tell. But you know, I guess maybe, you know, try and work on you know, getting those finishes and just maybe try and get something in the power department. Just try and make up something there so they're not losing bucket loads of times down the straight. But yeah, I know it's going to be interesting to see if they can pull something out during the season, because as you said, the base car is there. You know, the car is there to perform. So I'm interested to see if they can pull that out throughout the season as it wears on.
17 drivers then still on the lead lap. Oskari Kantonen is the last of them. He's not too far about being lapped by his teammate as Roy Schroeten's in a game for, I think, his 4th stop. And we're only on lap 40, so you can't, he's chewing up those tyres quite nicely. Either that or he's losing an awful lot of front wings somewhere along the line. But Lopez leads by 2.5 seconds from Augustin Canapino. Philip Pushkin is up to 3rd at the moment, ahead of Davidus Missilis. Sven de Vries 5, Petrovic 6. Fidock, who's done 3 stops, is in 7th position at the moment, ahead of Tom Parker. Alex Cooper, who's 3 stops, is in 8th. Columbus 9th, he's on a 2-stopper at the moment that will become 3 if he can make those primes last. No, Redshaw just outside, and he's onto the back of him actually, and may look to have a move down at turn 1. He's being sucked right up into the back of the Torrent Motorsport car's rear wing, takes a dive out down into turn 1 and gets himself back into the top 10 with a nice smooth move. And Mindegas Columbus there putting his car in all the right places but not defending dramatically. This could be carnage. 13th and 14th, Nick Rowland and Jordan Weeks. There's enough hot-headedness in there to put together a chilly festival, and it could be interesting to see how that one goes. Tumala in 15th then just outside the points, James Johnson, Oskari Kantonen, Mark Wicks, Kenny Lybeer, the green stripes of Nellen Horrell, and Schroeten is 2 laps down at the moment, the only guy 2 down. Retirements, Ryan, Gaia, Boldy, DeVos, Yakin and Tyen. So, very interesting as we get into the final third almost of this race.
Yeah, and everyone's sort of quieting down now as everyone's sort of gapping out, you know, getting into their rhythms as you do in the sort of, you know, just past the mid phase of the race. So, you know, the occasion you see is, you know, Robert Columbus now, by the way, falling the clutches of Castor, of course, who's on a different strategy to him. So I'm interested to see if maybe, you know, he makes it, you know, doesn't really put up too much of a fight like he did with Redshaw. We'd expect he wouldn't. You wouldn't want to have obviously a crash between the teammates. It'd be a bit awkward. As Parker in, sorry, by the way. I was just a little worried that there was an accident. No, he's in the pits as Weeks all over the back of Roland. That's for 12th now as they go past Parker in pits. But there you go, look at that. Weeks not really closing there, so good power there for Roland. But it wouldn't surprise me. It is midnight. They do have a pretty solid car even this year, even with the, you know, the shake-up of the performances this year. But Fran Lopez still leads, 2.5 seconds clear of Canapino, so it's pretty much business as usual. That has been all race long, but again, we should see if it'll be the same things last time, where he'll sort of fall off the cliff a bit in the sort of latter half of that stint. So we'll keep an eye on that, as Pushka is about 7 seconds behind, so a bit further back, but you know, he's not too far behind. It could be another, you know, consistent result. So if he can keep this up, this is going to do wonders for the championship for him.
Hopefully Sven de Vries is not going to disconnect. I think he may have just not quite collected a timing being. He's dropping down the order, but I can see him on the track. Once that sorts itself out again, he'll be back up the order. Kieran Ryan's reel still sitting there on the track. Oh, yes, he is back in 5th.
Yeah.
I tell you what's very interesting with me against that Columbus and Casa battle is that when Columbus came out of the pits, he was only 4.5 seconds ahead of Peter Casa, and it's taken all of that time for Casa to catch up to Columbus. which has been quite a lot of about a quarter of a race, if not a fifth of a race, to catch up those 4 seconds. So overall, that tyre is not horrifically disadvantaged at the moment, at least, anyway.
Yeah, sorry, there's a little moment there for Roland down in turn 1. Just going to try and see if that was a bit of contact there, because it was him and Jordan there going sort of nearly side by side, or going nose to tail through turn 1. I'm just going to have a look in the replay here, see if there's contact, because I don't know if there was a loss of the rear end. Yeah, no, it looks like just lost the rear end there, so no contact from what I can tell. So he just lost the rear end on exit there, Roland, which just cost him the position. So Jordan out to 12th, so he continues his charge. I'm sure Roland won't be happy with that, losing the position in such a fashion, but such is the way of things, as Torrance are next in the crosshairs for weeks. He's not too far behind, so I wouldn't be too surprised if he can catch up to him as time goes on. He's got good pace, so possibly some improvements here for Target and more points on the board.
Don't give Jordan a gun. He last race he kept messaging me saying broadcast will riot because the broadcast wasn't up straight away. As David has pitched Vicious into the pits, and he's going for the prime tyres as well, so he may try and get, what's that, 23 laps on those tyres. That's doable. That's definitely doable on the primes, as Pesacasa is in as well in the Torrance. So this is a time when people will be wanting to make their final stops if they can, and will be fascinating to see, as someone was nose to tail with someone, but I don't think it was for position. I think he was laparooing someone.
There's also just going to point out as well, once again, same thing as the last 2 stints. Canapino is now second off Franz. Obviously Franz tyres once more have just sort of fallen off the cliff again, so it's interesting to see this keep going as, yeah, there you go. So yeah, once again he's picked the time and he's gone in, although I reckon this time it's a little better time. He hasn't let Canapino pass, so perhaps this might actually be a good timing from him, but we'll be interested to see how this goes. As you assume he's got a problem with prime here because he hasn't put it on all race long, so assumably he'll go to the end. But I mean, who knows? I mean, as we've seen, he's sort of struggled with tyre wear, so I wonder how will he go at the end of the race here. We'll keep an eye on that one.
Well, yeah, because he's doing kind of the maximum stint that he can on these prime tyres. I'm sure he's doing that because he doesn't want to lose the position to Canapino and then have to burn around and hope for an undercut to get back ahead of Canapino again. The issue this time is that Canapino will be able to now eke out these last couple of laps on these options. Fidock out is behind Lopez, so Lopez well ahead of David Fidock, and Fidock on those option tyres, he's going to have to pit again, so it's really starting to come to the surface. Who's done what? Is Roland and Parker both in the pits, and Parker's in again
Parker with their front wing.
Yeah,
that was what I just saw. Yeah, so unfortunate Parker. That's such a solid race. I mean, he hasn't pretty quiet ones. Have been off doing his own thing at the back end of the 10, but for replacement drive, really good stuff, and unfortunately it's kind of come undone. So
it's into the chicane, the corner before the chicane where it's slightly cambered. He's put on the power just in between the two and he's speared off to the right hand side. He's just tapped the wall, lost his front wing. A really silly error, but actually one that is quite easy to do.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a shame, but I mean, at least it's in that pit window, so he's been able to sort of come back around, do the stop, and just put tyres on. He should theoretically go to the end. So it's not the biggest disaster known to man, but it will cost him a lot of time, of course, changing that front wing. So he's still on the points, in 15th. So hopefully, still points on the card for him. But shame there for Parker. But as you said, easy mistake to make, and it has been a very solid result. Drive I've thought so far. As who was that? Was he just getting lapped? Yeah, okay, just getting lapped. But it's been a good solid
off as well.
Ooh, yep. So,
position.
So look, we'll spin there at the back end of the track there and lead up to the chicane.
If you do, I don't know if we're able to get a replay. Quinton Plain doing an amazing job as always on cameras, but he goes off the track to kind of let someone through, and then does this lazy kind of back on spin again, as if he's half fallen asleep and given up, which is a real shame. As Roland versus Tumala for 13th and 14th down the straight, there's a much more wider wake prospect. Nijo versus Midnight Motorsports. That's the kind of names we expect to see battling, but not over 13th and 14th. Tumala goes through and up the position. He's really rocking it out as he's trying to get Nijo back up to a realm of respectability. Nick Rowland down in 14th, wondering what on earth he's doing, essentially back in that position, cancelling into the pits for repairs, I'm assuming. And Sven de Vries and Misselis both in the pits this time round.
Yeah, indeed,
Fidock
they're
up
just
to the
peeing
back of
out.
Lopez.
Oh,
Sorry
yeah,
to
look at that,
talk
yeah.
over.
Yeah, no, that's all good, it's all good. Yeah, Fidock actually, by the way, Fidock is again on the option, so he should be quicker theoretically here, but we'll keep an eye on this. That is for third, and I think that is for position, so that'll be interesting to see. We'll have a watch on that. And again, your option tyre is on the quicker tyre, so we'll keep an eye on that. But where did Misselis? Misselis came out 6th, by the way, so another good solid result from him at the moment if he can keep on track. 6th and 10th for Red Archer, so again, really good for the constructors. Fidock down the inside into the chicane, and he gets it done. Interesting place to get done there, but keep an eye on Fran. He might try and get back as they come down here towards this little back straight here. He'll have the slipstream, but again, he's on the prime, he's on the slower tyre, so I don't know if we're going to keep with him. Yeah, and it doesn't go for it, so Fidock up to third.
It seems to be our little catchphrase for the Spanish Grand Prix, but it's not his battle, or at least not right now. Anyway, he needs to make sure that he can take as little life out of those option tyres as possible, because Fidock is going to have an absolute jobby on his hands to try and get 20-odd seconds up the road. He's 22 behind Augustin Canapino at the moment. The battle is really between Canapino and Lopez, and Canapino going round a gain, lap 48 he is on, of 66, that he's minimising the amount of time he needs to be on those prime tyres, and this is only going to help him as the race unfolds towards the end, and that's why Lopez is probably just thinking, just tippy-toe it round.
Yeah, no, get it to the end and save that stop would probably be his strategy. As Canapino 6.6 clear of Pushka, just updating that gap at the lead. Pushka again, looking solid here. If he can keep things together, it could be another solid top 10 result here, maybe even top 5, which would again just really solidify his championship hopes. Really, it's been a very, very impressive start for him for Oddball, so we'll keep an eye on that for you as I'll see if anyone comes in. Nope, no one coming at the front. Where's the really closest battle? It's a good battle here for 6th, Misselis and Redshaw. Both Misselis on the top prime tyre, Redshaw on the option. As he has a little look down there at the hairpin, doesn't make the move stick though. We just passed Schroden there, just like him. He goes down up to them, and it's about 3 seconds up the road to Cooper. So a bit of a gap to him. That Redshaw all over the back of him. Again, he's on the better tyre, so he should be able to get this done relatively easily. And again, we're probably, Misselis trying to make that tyre last at the end of the race. So not really a fight that he'll be fighting too hard, I would assume, but we'll keep an eye on that eye as they come down the straight here. Redshaw in the slipstream, you'd assume he was good inside. Yep, Misselis not really fighting as we thought, and he should have that done pretty easily, really, down in turn 1. So probably good stuff there from Misselis. He sees this is not his fight, he's just going to let him go and save that for the end of the race.
I think if anyone's watching this video back, not his fight should be your drinking game. Take a shot whenever we say it, but it's true, because actually the way how I viewed this race has completely changed as the race has unfolded. Cantonen has retired his car after that spin, by the way. Parker and Johnston are having a battle over the final point at 15th and 16th. That's an entertaining little squabble-aroo. Because it's essentially turned into those who can manage their tyres and those who eat their tyres alive, because that's been the difference between who can 3-stop and who can 2. As Pushka comes in from 2nd, he's a man who can 3-stop. Same with Canapino, same with Misselis. Potentially the same with Lopez, he's really on the bubble. Whereas your Redshaws, Fidock I think is more of a, strategy problem more than a tyre issue, because he's well known for keeping his tyres going. Those kind of drivers, eating out their tyres much more, have ended up really losing out, because there's not been much of a difference in terms of overall pace between the cars out on track between 3 and 4 stop, because they all start with the same amount of fuel, so you're not getting like a shorter run or a shorter, smaller fuel tank, and therefore a less weighty car. I'm losing all my words at the moment, but I think you get what I mean, hopefully. And I think this is very revealing into how different drivers drive their cars.
Yeah, indeed, it really shows the different strategy minds which are at play here, as Pushka came out just in front of Cooper, so he's in 4th. Just ahead of him, of course, again, Cooper on the option tyre, so you will again assume that you'll probably get past him because, once again, that drink of yours is not Pushka's fight right now. So,
Canapino in, no?
Yep, oh, there we go. So Canapino
Onto the primes as well. Fidock goes round again, obviously, so he will take the... Oh no, he might not take the lead of this race at all. So Canapino comes out, and well, that is the advantage. These two drivers have been running nose to tail for basically half, if not 2/3 of this Grand Prix. Yet Fidock needs to pit again, and that is purely down to who has used what tyre strategy. As Cooper goes for Pushka and takes full position down at turn 1, as we've lost Mr. Hinz, so unfortunately there, our Aussie friend has had an Aussie problem.
Yep, well, I'm still hearing the thing. It's just in the comm box. I'm pretty, my connection's gone.
You're alive. You're alive. It's
Yeah.
okay. I will ask you random comments and expect great answers from you as we go. you can take all them shots now as Mark Wicks leaves the pits from 17th, just ahead of Kenny Lybeer in 18th. I just find it so revealing as to who can do what, as Sven de Vries has been off the track, I think. He's just rejoined in 9th, behind Mindergas Columbus. Either that or he's just had a bit of an excursion. But it is on lap 50 we are coming to the end of. Lap 51 we will be starting, and in fact, actually, Canapino's ping has suddenly gone right up. Is this going to be the next disconnect of the Grand Prix? Please say no. Fidock's onto the back of him as they come running down towards turn 1. Fidock quite fancies it. Canapino says no. He doesn't want to have this play out for strategy. I wonder if he knows that Fidock needs to pit again. What would you do in that situation, Tom?
Well, I mean, he's on the different compound tyre. He's on the prime. Fidock's on the option. So I would kind of assume that you'd put, because you have your race directors now, I'd assume that they would probably tell you, look, Fidock's on a different strategy. No real point in fighting it. And honestly, I probably wouldn't fight it because, again, it's not your fight to fight at that point. But you get in the moment, as we've said before, you get in the moment. When you're a racer, you race. So you can get in the moment a bit and find yourself fighting when you didn't necessarily want to. So, yeah, it depends.
See, I'm a dog fighter. I'll give anyone a good run for their money, even if they are, even if there's a blue flag involved. I need to show my prowess somewhere, even if it's not through speed. As Alex Cooper got out right ahead of Davidus Petrovicius for 8th and 9th, so he's been battling one Red Archer who's come out right next to the other one as Jordan Weeks takes Petakaza for 11th position, and that is a change for position proper because they're both on the primes and they'll be running to the end on that. Overlapping Mark Wicks at the same time, actually, so all kicking off around that corner of the circuit. Fidock, though, into the lead down at turn 1. He's got him. So David Fidock leads the way. Pit stop adjusted. Canapino then down to 2nd, but I don't think he's too fussed with that. Lopez 2.7 down here behind him in 3rd. Pushka's in 4th. Missilis is in 5th. Ben de Vries now up to 6th because that's Lewis Redshaw exiting the pits on the prime tyres. And Alex Cooper goes through, so Cooper up to 7. Petrovicius goes through and is up into 8th. Lewis Redshaw rejoins in 9th. He's got works to do. And Mindergas Columbus on the option tyres now, he's the one that's doing the odd one out, is in 10th. And I think that may have actually hurt him because he's a bit helter-skelter to everyone else. Jordan Weeks 11, Casa 12, Tumala 13. Nick Rowland 14th, Tom Parker just in 15th ahead of James Johnson in 16th as they battle over the last points. The other runners are Kenny Lybeer 17, Dewald Nell is in 18th, Mark Wicks just exiting the pits in 19th ahead of Ben Horrell in 20th and Roy Schroet in 21st. And actually those two are having a good squabble over last. So no one wants that wooden spoon as Fidock into the pits, and that pushes Canapino back out front.
Indeed, I'm just looking on. I'll just go off live races, I think, is the plan here. But, yeah, no, it's been an interesting race. It's just loading up now. Here we go. Yep, right. Yeah, no, 0.8 seconds, as you can see there. Fidock, though, just got past. So it's, again, this consistency. There is, again, once again, he wasn't leading for most of the race. He was just there or thereabouts. And then, right at the end of the race, bam, there he is in the lead, right where he needs to be. So, ooh, what's going on there?
That was the battle for last. Roy Schroten dives past Ben Horrell as they were moving as Ben Fidock starting to mate the drivers now. David Fidock was coming out of the pits 3 into 1 down at turn 1, didn't really work. Horrell had to take evasive action. But Troy Schroten there up into 20th. Those Schroten guys do like to get their Schrotens out at any opportunity and bash them around as they go up the order. But Ryan is still going. Kenny Liberia in the pits from 17th. He is losing out on his opportunities, and actually it's become the top 16 have almost lapped everyone from 17th downwards. So it really has become a Class 1 and a Class 2 in the Spanish Grand Prix, with 16 drivers battling for 15 point scoring positions. So someone at the moment is going to be very, very sad at the end of it. And at the moment it could well be James Johnson or Tom Parker, because those are the two at the end of that, unless someone has a Binny moment up front. But aside from Kieran Ryan and Oskari Kantonen, and maybe Gaia and Boldy, I suppose. Oh, and Yakinen. Actually, there has been a few crashes, hasn't there? it wasn't until I looked and I thought, oh, actually, there has been a little bargy. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Yeah, it could be. I mean, there could be some points on here for. I mean, imagine if there's a little bit of a big crash with 2 or 3 people gone, and suddenly Wicks is in the points, and there's points for Kennock. So you never know. I mean, strange things can happen, especially in these latter halves of races. So yeah, no, I'll be watching with interest here on the live races in my very, very thorough view of what's going on in these docks as they go around the track. But yeah, no, it's interesting to see. I was looking at the best times here. It's interesting to note the speed as well. Canapino 309 is top speed. Fran Lopez 321. So interesting to note the Canapino's top speed not really anywhere near as high as the others around him, which is a nice little fun fact for him.
So Sven de Vries has crashed. 9th position.
Ooh.
Target in. What was he doing? He was right up behind Ben. Oh, he's crashed with Ben Horrell. He was trying to lap Ben Horrell out of the chicane. Bins it, gets into his side pod essentially through the chicane, lost his front left wheel. He's trying to get it home. Now we saw Mikko Jakinen's wheel get replaced. God knows how. If it's perfectly damaged, we'll see. But Sven de Vries in the target, what a shame. He was driving an absolute stonker of a race. But that was, I mean, Ben Horrell was a little bit in the middle of the road, but where they were going through that chicane, you can't really do very much in that chicane. It's a horrible corner to try and pass. You're off camber, there's a bump at the beginning of it. Ooh. Oh, how that little bit of caution can sometimes really save you. And Sven de Vries dropping down the points as he slumbers into the pits. What will become of him? Will it fix? Let's see what happens as he pops into the pits. Everyone moving up a position though, and Fran Lopez only 1.5 behind Canapino. He's not done yet either.
Yeah, indeed. That really just makes things interesting, doesn't it? Sven de Vries, he was having such a great race, really consistent, staying out of trouble, and just having a really good replacement drive there. A real good one-off drive, and yeah, there you go. Yeah, so he's out. So real shame for Target. That was a good double points potentially on the cards, but it all falls on good old Jordan Weeks now to try and get the points for Target. But yeah, well, that's a real shame, real big shame for them. But there's still points, could still be points in the cards. But yeah, there you go. So that's such as racing. It's a very, very long race. So you know, mistakes can happen, and they do happen on occasion. So real shame for them.
And it doesn't matter if they happen on the first lap or the 65th lap. If it takes you out of the race, you're buggered anyway. So that doesn't help. James Johnson had a mistake earlier whilst he was being lapped by Augustin Canapino. Went right off the track to let him through. Drops him a bit off Tom Parker, but they're now both into the points. So I suppose James Johnson, who was absolutely hounding the back of Parker beforehand, can kind of sit there and think, right, at least I've got one in the bag. I'm okay. Quite interestingly, Mark Wicks has just unlapped himself from Mikhail Tumala, and now he's going to have to re-let himself back through again. So I think Wixie is actually faster than Tumala at the moment, but he's a bit stuck because one's on the option tyre, one's on the prime, but as soon as you get past, you then get asked for the blue flag to get through, and Tumala in 13th position is basically bashing Wicks out of the way. Wicks trying to bash itself back through again. It's going to be looking a wee bit awkward, I think, at some point, and that will not help him at all when Canapino's coming around to lap them. And with Canapino just 1.3 seconds ahead of Fran Lopez, he does not want some weird I'm trying to unlap myself whilst being lapped battle going on at the same time, because it takes your your focus off it, doesn't it?
Yeah, indeed. No, they'll. You just can't concentrate as much. Depending on the person, of course. Some people don't get affected as badly, but generally it'll just affect your concentration. You might miss your braking points a bit. You might just sort of make a few little more errors with the pace. So yeah, he'll be definitely hoping that we'll bugger off as P16. You've got the Nell and Liberia there. No, by the way, I was just going to mention that while I was looking at the timing. Nell in 16th for green stripes. So one more time at the top 15, and suddenly they're in the points. So not bad for green stripes here.
And oh, how they would love to get themselves off of the board. Nell on the prime tyres, Liberia on the option. So both green stripes and Nijo desperate for points. And Shimala's in there for Nijo at the moment. Liberia, who has been a wee bit quiet at the start of this 2015 season, pulls out alongside as they go down the straight. He's got his nose ahead, he's got the straight line speed advantage. Nell tucks in and then pulls out to have a look down at one. Can't do anything about it. He pulls in, and that's a shame for Duold Nell, because this is the strongest race that he's had so far in the 2015 season. So far he's really brought up the rear along with his teammate essentially at the Green Stripes Racing team. That car severely underdeveloped. But Duold there, I think, has been able to show that he has driving potential in a car that is, quite frankly, a wee bit shoddy. So he's been able to pull it out. Christoph Lichtenstein, the team boss, planning, I think, to do a complete upgrade expenditure slightly later on down the line and save his credits for the time being. And of course, we don't really talk too much about team bosses because we're busy focusing on the action on track, with the leaders separated by just 1.3 seconds, Canapino versus Lopez. It's funny though that probably one of, if not the most biggest factor that goes into this is actually the team boss, and they're not the people racing out on track, and that's what makes GPVWC such a compelling and unique experience indeed.
Yeah, indeed. You always got to remember the team managers are a key part of the racing that goes on, especially in Super League, with the development and obviously developing the cars. Something very unique to Super League and probably one of the main attractions of the series. And team bosses are vital to that, and they really do really run the team. It's pretty much as close to the real deal as possible. And they don't get much credit. They're kind of behind the scenes, don't really talk about them too much, but they deserve the credit. They get these teams running, they keep them running, and they develop the cars for the drivers to drive around the track. So definitely kudos to them, and it'll be interesting to see how they go with development, of course, with the cars they have, because obviously some will go different routes, some will go some ways, some will go other ways, and we're interesting to see how that all goes as the season goes on.
Always, there is never a science to it. As 8th position, Columbus versus Petrovicius, and Columbus forces his way through at turn 1. Petrovicius tried to stay around the outside into 2, but Columbus was well gone. And this is where Columbus, he's the only person in the top 15 on the option tyres, so he's done a completely different strategy to everyone else. And there you go, that saw him through and past Petrovicius. Next up for him, 3 seconds up the road, is Lewis Redshaw on the prime. So could Mindergaus Columbus, it didn't look like it was working for him earlier on. I called him out and said, I don't think that's really worked for him. Slowly, he's catching himself back up again. Now after that, Cooper's another 3 or 4 seconds up the road, so that may be completely out of reach, but if Columbus can keep it all together and not overburn those option tyres, he could well find himself battling for 7th position by the end of this. And for a driver that is currently sitting in 15th in the Drivers' Championship, he'll be quite happy with that, I think.
Yeah, indeed, I'd agree. Yeah, definitely. Showing that sometimes different strategy will work, and seeing they're in the top 10 now, and who knows? It's definitely out of the realms of possibility to get possibly a top 6 result, which would be fantastic for him. He'd be very, very happy with that. So yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah, definitely. He's got the pace. But of course, Redshaw, crafty racer, knows how to defend full position. So, it's going to be a challenge, but we'll see how he goes as he drives and charges through the field. Because he's got the pace for it. We'll see if he's got the race car.
Duold Nell next up to be lapped by our leaders, Augustin Canapino and Fran Lopez. 1.296 seconds the gap at the end of Sector 2. Both drivers desperately trying to push as hard as possible. Lopez not giving up. He'll reach the cliff of his tyres first though. Canapino has more in them, but traffic is always key, and you've got Nell and Liberia who have separated out now by a couple of seconds, which will help. What has not separated out is the battle for 14th and 15th and what will soon be 13th, because Pushka's lapping Parker and Johnson going around the outside of Parker whilst he was letting Pushka through, and JJ takes the position. He'll be having a big old cheeky grin on him for that one. I think Parker will be going, "Oh, Shilly Sirens," as he gets overtaken, nearly loses it, putting the power down out of 4. And well, that one had been running for a good 15-20 laps maybe, and Johnson has finally got through. And for those two, they've both been reeling in Mikhail Tumala consistently over the course of the race, because they've both had their issues and have dropped down the field. They're not really where they should be, and that is their next goal, and they could very well do it, because Tumala is still having to stop Wicks from unlapping himself, and Wicks must be sitting there thinking, I could go so much faster.
Yeah, no, it's very, very true indeed. As you know, Columbus still coming through the field, of course, still gaining on the guys ahead in that option tyre of his. You know, really flying there with that car, which is fair enough. He's on the fast tyre. So interesting to see these alternate strategies are all sort of coming to a head now, aren't they? As we're getting the closing stages. What are you saying?
We have just lost Ben Horrell. He has crashed it.
Oh.
And he's out for Green Stripes Racing. He was last, unfortunately. But now he's out, so he's definitely last. I suppose he's first of the retirements, if you put it like that. But Ben was saying beforehand he don't expect too much. But I think he would have liked to have brought the car home. But I remember him saying at Bahrain that he felt the car was evil handling, and he was really struggling to make sure that he could stay on the track, and he didn't think he'd make it to the first stop, and he got a lot further than that, if not bringing actually the car home. So he'll be unfortunately a bit unhappy with that one. Canapino and Lopez still gapped by 1.4 seconds, so it's ever so slightly swung to Canapino on lap 63 of 66. Pushka still in third, Missilis 4, Fidock 5 ahead of Cooper 6. Redshaw is in 7th, but he's only a second ahead now of Mindergas Columbus, who's closed him right down. So that's going to be a final hurrah, I think, there. Petrovicius 9, Jordan Weeks, a good recovery to 10th. Ahead of Petacazza 11, Nick Rowland unlapped in 12th, then 1 lap down to Marla 13, Johnson 14, Parker 15, Liberia 16, then 2 laps down Nell, Wicks and Schroeter are your last runners and riders in the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yes, we're entering the closing stages now as everyone's starting to get close, you know, everyone coming together here. So it's all going to be interesting to see here if maybe can that lead be eaten away here that Fran has. But he's going a good race, I credit to him. You know, his tyres have been, you know, he's not been able to manage him quite as well as some of the others around him. But I mean, he's there right now, he's where he needs to be. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all goes, because we're in these closing stages. People have got different pace here, they've got different strategies. So it's always interesting, there's when you got all this kind of differing ways going on, because it really comes to a head in this last sort of few laps of the race.
Tyres are the name of the game. The Spanish Grand Prix, Lopez 1.7 back now, so he's lost a little bit. They've got Liberia to lap though, so that could be the joker in the pack. About for 7th and 8th then, Lewis Redshaw versus Mindergas Columbus. Columbus on the option tyre, Redshaw on the prime, and CSG I don't think will be constructors leaders at the end of this Grand Prix, unfortunately for them. But Mindergas Columbus would quite like to get Torrent's best result so far in 2015, and actually for quite a while, to be fair. They win my favourite livery of the year award by quite a comfy margin. I do like that car. And Mindergas have raced alongside him in previous series elsewhere, and he has always been a very fair driver. Even way back, last time I think, well actually first time I raced with him back in 2008, showing our ages now. It's, I had a good ding dong with him on a couple of my first sim races, and he was very forgiving and was able to give me a wide berth, which was probably the best way to deal with me back then. But he's now not giving Redshaw a wide berth at all. He's climbing all over the gearbox, sniffing around his rear. I don't think he'll like what he'll smell when he'll want to get past very, very quickly. Not going for it down into turn 6 though. Lopez dropping away from Canapino as we watch this, by the way. He's now 1.9 back, so maybe those tyres are starting to lose their edge towards the end. This is the closest battle on track, the battle for 7th and 8th. The other good battle is Fidock and Missilis for 4th and 5th, but there's a second between them. Although Fidock is closing Missilis down very quickly, and actually let's switcheroo back to that, because as they come down the home straight, Missilis has not had the finest of laps, whereas Fidock really has. And he's onto the back, 3 temps there, he gets sucked up into the slipstream. Davidus Missilis defends for Red Archer. He'd love that 4th position. Fidock doesn't look like he's going to get on the podium for the first time since God knows when. In fact, probably since 2013. He's up into 4th position. Beautifully done there. Missilis, I think, is just delighted that he's running in 4th and 5th position, and a real upturn of fortune for Red Archer, especially with teammate Petrovicius running in 9th. We're on the last lap now, lap 66 of 66. Canapino 2 seconds clear, and I'm just taking a look. Fidock was not on the podium in Australia, sorry, the opener. So we're all right. The universe has not gone wrong. We're all good. But Canapino now into the final sector. Well, he has played the tactical game. He played the tyre conservationalist game. And up against Fran Lopez, he was able to hold the pace, the tyre management, the grit and determination, and the strategy. And Agustin Canapino deservedly takes the win for the Spanish Grand Prix here at GPVWC Superleague 2015 for North Zone Racing. Superb achievement for him. Second across the line for Adonis Engineering for that team's first podium. Yes, by far. Yeah, indeed. Fran Lopez second. Filip Pushka third position. He'll keep his championship lead with that. With a fine podium in the Vodball. 4th, David Fidock, and he's actually crashed across the line. I'm not sure if he was delighted with that or not. Davidus Missilis in 5th position comes home. That's why there's a green stripe stopped on the start-finish straight. 7th is behind Alex Cooper. In 6th is Redshaw in 7th, who beat home Mindegas Columbus by 2 temps to 8. Davidas Petrovicius, a great 9th for Red Archer, solidifying a great evening for that team. Jordan Weeks, a well-deserved 10th there, a good recovery from that terrifying spin that he had right at the beginning of the race. Patakaza 11 for Torrent, a good evening for that team. Nick Rowland, another disappointing run for him in 12th, but unlapped this time round, so improvement there for him. 13th, Mikhail Tumala for Nijo, points for that team. Oh, how mighty have fallen there. Adonis get both cars into points. James Johnson gets off the board with a 14th there, and a much more improved race for him. Shame he had to start at the back and fight his way through. Tom Parker, a point in 15th for CSG, and I think he'll be kicking himself, but I think he's also shown what he can do, and that's a good platform for him, depending on what happens with Lucas Euler in the future. 16th, and 1 lap down, Kenny Lybeer. 17th, 2 laps down, Mark Wicks, ahead of Dewald Nell in the green stripes. So ended up 18th behind Wicks in the end. Roy Stroton, 19th, and the final finisher for Woods Racing, 2 laps down despite all those pit stops. God knows how that happened. He must have been quite fast when he wasn't in the pits. Your retirements were Ben Horrell, Sven de Vries, Oskari Kantanen, Kieran Ryan, Florian Geyer, Gergo Baldi, Bart de Vos, Mikko Jakinen, and Jarl Tyen.
There you go. So that's it. There's Spanish Grand Prix. It's quite interesting. Very, very tyre heavy. Definitely. Now, I mean, it's a very high tyre wear track. It definitely works the tyres a lot. But I mean, I don't know if I was expecting that much. I mean, it was really, really, really quite amazing seeing so many stops throughout the race. It was something I wasn't expecting. So, but again, good job to Canapino there. So Norwegian continuing their rise back to power. It almost seems here. This season compared to last season, that's for sure. Then Fran Lopez, great stuff for him. I mean, not able to hold the tyres as well, but second place, credit to him. Really, really good stuff. And yeah, and good, more points for Target as well, and more points for Torrance. So the reversal that is 2015 continues.
It does indeed, and I suppose it might be too early to ask it, but do you have your driver of the day?
That's a good question. Hmm. I think I'm probably gonna have to go with I reckon I'll go with Fran Lopez. I will go with Fran Lopez because he's still the new boy, one of the new boys anyway in Super League this year, and new team, they're sort of still unproven, still a bit of an unknown. So to hold it together all race, again didn't quite have the consistency, the tyre wear that his fellow guys around him had. But he still, he had that pace in the end, and he played the tactical car, did the undercuts, pitted at the right times. He didn't get the win, but still second place, really good stuff to him. So, I think he was the standout for me personally.
Great stuff, great stuff. We're just going to drag in. Oh no, we're not, because he wasn't on the podium. We're just going to see if the top three have arrived. I don't know, Quintin, you are cameraman extraordinaire who gives us pixelated filth upon every Grand Prix, as he always does. I don't know if you're there, mate, but if you are, you're most welcome to give your drivers of the days and thoughts as well, because I know you're busy with all hands a slumber whilst you give us all of our lovely, beautiful pictures.
Well, for me, it was Canapino. He absolutely dominated this race, pretty much, or not dominated, controlled it from start to finish. Took the pole in qualifying, and then just played a brilliant strategy game through the entire race to take the win. So for me, he's my driver of the day.
And I shall second you on that, because I think it's worthwhile pointing out Canapino in the Norge Zone. That win is well overdue, because he's been denied so many through so many disconnections and problems. He's very much a Boldy Mark II in terms of finishing rate. But that Norge Zone is the fourth worst car on the grid. So the fact that he's able to bring that car home in a top position, I think says quite a great deal with all of that. So well done, well done. My other big shout outs as well, I think will go Fran Lopez, obviously, new team, new driver, really showing some great stuff there. And I'd also give a shout out to Davidas Misalis, I think, as well, who has again reminded us all of his talents. I think we've got some drivers that would quite like an interview. Let's drag our beautiful people in. Sorry, join you in. Although I'd quite like to eagle eye in on exactly what you two were chatting about.
No, I just was talking to Pushko before the race and said, if you do a free stop, I'll buy you a pint at the next meet. And he beat me, so I owe him a pint.
Get your piggy bank out.
Yeah.
It's one turn. And actually, something that Tom and I were talking about throughout the entire race was strategy. And I was thinking, I think Tommy was kind of the same ilk, 3 stops will be the way. Very quickly became apparent, David Fidock, that 4 stops was going to be the key, and you seemed to be the odd one out against Pushka and Canapino and Lopez on that. And do you think that was the right decision for you?
It was the only decision for me. You do so much testing on your own, you don't get to see everyone else's because they all got their own server doing their own thing. It's only until the last few days when they all get their updates and pop on the main server that you see, okay, that's their pace, but what tyres they are on now, how long can they go? And it wasn't until I spoke to Pushka earlier today and said, man, how many stops are you doing? And he said, probably 3. I just felt like crying right there because the amount of work, hundreds of laps, man, just trying to get these tyres to last longer. They weren't overheating. I wasn't exactly getting cold or hot tyres, but they just wouldn't last no more than 12 laps. So I just had to go for it. The only problem was the first stint behind Canapino and Lopez was making the tyres wear out quicker. And then after each pit stop, I needed to be on my own to make the most of it and be able to have a chance for P3 at the end, which didn't happen. I was always behind someone. But the last stop, I was out and catching Davidas, was it? I managed to sneak that to P4 on the last lap. But yeah, it was a race I needed on my own. I didn't get it, but can't all go your own way, can it?
Yeah, it's very true. I think I noticed at the start of the race was that start of yours was a very, very quick start. I almost thought you'd get the lead there in the early part, but yeah, what was that? Was it just a really good reaction time there, or because I noticed that Canapino seemed a bit late on the reaction there. So how was that start to the race for you? Was it a bit hectic, or yeah?
No, that was a pretty average start for me. I was quite annoyed with it because I had a bit of wheel spin. It's one thing I work on 20 times a day. I make sure I get the right bite point on the clutch and the amount of throttle for the gear ratios I have, and yeah, it takes a lot. I remember last year I went from P4 to P1 by the first corner, so I wanted to repeat that, but Canapino blocked it off. But yeah, it's just about practice with the bite point mainly. I tend not to react too quickly to the lights because knowing me, I'll jump them anyway. But yeah, it's just about the clutch and throttle.
Thank you very much, David. But yes, our championship man is that's the second time you've not been on the podium. This is disgusting, disgraceful. Stop it.
Yeah, it didn't feel right not talking to you though, so I had to jump in.
Ah, yeah, most appreciated, much appreciated. We like drivers that pop in and say hello.
Hello.
So go and enjoy a well-deserved pint, and yes,
Continue.
and then another one after, I'm sure. We're joined by Mr. Philip Pushka, who is, if you're not careful, quite likely to yoink your crown off you, because came into it as a championship leader with a second, and is it too early to say you're doing a Fidock? Because you're back on the podium again, Phil, and that was a pretty stonking drive with some feisty moves.
Yeah, it was fine. I think all beside the start, basically. But I lost quite a lot there. I lost like 10 seconds and was down to 10s, 11s after the first lap or after the start. It was quite messy to get back there and had to use the tires a bit and a little bit of problems at the end of the first stint to make them live longer than they should have been. But yeah, all in all, I think it's a great drive. But yeah, as I said, I could maybe have won it if I not had a bad start.
Well, I was just going to ask on your view on this. With the whole mix-up of the field, obviously you've had everyone. You've got guys like Torrance and Targets all sitting at the top. Well, not at the top, but in the top half of the field, and suddenly polar opposites of what they were last year. How's it for you, sort of fighting away with guys in Targets even or Torrances up the field when last year they were way down the back? Is it a bit of a surreal kind of feeling for you?
Yeah, sometimes I'm a little bit surprised in the middle of the race. I had a look and I saw like Redshaw, the likes of Redshaw, and the guys that in Fidock, the guys that were basically dominant last year were not up there. And yeah, it's a little bit of a good feeling, but I guess you have to race. Yeah, you can race, and in this time it was Canapino and then Lopez. I think we were on quite equal pace, but yeah, as I always said, I lost too much ground at the start, and knew I had to do some damage limitation. And I think I basically succeeded with that.
Well, you are in the lead of the championship, coming away from the third round. I suppose for me, with such a close field this year, did you honestly think that you would be leading the championship after 3 rounds? And how does your mind now change now that you are in the lead for the future races of what you want to get out of each race and how you then attack each battle in each race?
First of all, no, I didn't. I had one thought about it that I maybe was leading at some point, but yeah, I guess it is how it is, and now I have to deal with it in a positive way. And of course, I always try to finish every race and to not get in any kind of accident. And that way won't change, and I won't be too cautious to not get in any trouble, and maybe I will attack again, but as I said, you want to finish every race, and that's my mind.
Yeah, indeed. And just one more question. I was wondering with the the tyre was bad, of course. As we saw there, we had 4 stoppers, which we were seeing at the start of the race going, it'll be a 2 or 3 stop race, and then suddenly, oh wait, it's going to be a 3 or 4 stop race. Okay, this wasn't expected. But how were the tyres around there? Because I know that Spain's a very high tyre wear track, because of the way it is and the heat, of course, as well. So how were the tyres at the end of the stints? They would have been getting a bit dodgy, I would have assumed.
Actually, no. I think the tires for me were actually fine. It was just the cliff, the point where you had to pit. Tires were not bad at all. I could improve my laps at the end of the stints, but as I said, the cliff was there and you had to pit. Yeah, but all in all, I'm pretty happy with the tire wear because normally I'm the one who has the most tire wear, and I worked on that for this race, just testing the tire wear all the time, not doing too many quali laps. Yeah, it really paid off.
Indeed.
Lovely. Great stuff. Great stuff. Thank you very much, Philip Pushka there for popping in. I'm sure he'll be pushing hard for the future races. Sorry, had to get that in. And lastly, but not leastly, we have, on behalf of Augustin Canapino, who isn't here for the interview, we've got the boss in, Mr. Will Panisi himself, who must be quite delighted with the car that is ranked one of the lower end of the field in terms of upgrades to have Augustin Canapino drag it kicking and screaming across the line for a victory and a return to form for the Nordstein team.
Yeah, long overdue if you want, but it's absolutely an amazing feeling being back winning. I think our last win was in Canada in 2013, and it's been long overdue, and it's absolutely fantastic. A great job by Agustin. He did everything right tonight, if you want, and just a little blemish on our notebook is that we had obviously some issues with Florian. He wasn't able to finish the race, and some issue we'll obviously look into, but still an absolute great night tonight.
Indeed. And also, I'll ask this again because obviously I asked the others. What was actually no, I was going to ask was during that race, obviously when Fran Lopez was leading all that race, looking very, very promising. What were your thoughts on that? Just on your on the pace which he's shown, especially even Adonis with JJ himself getting some points there. What were your thoughts on Adonis showing some quite promising form here at the start of the season?
Well, you may say you can be surprised by them because they're a new team. They're still getting the feet around in the Super League, but I'm not overly surprised. We knew when they got in that they were a solid team. They did a wonderful job last year, so we expected them to hit the ground running. They've got some quality drivers. They've got good management behind, so. They've got a serious plan in terms of upgrades as well. You see the work they're doing. They have a clear direction. So it's nice from a league perspective to see them coming together. Obviously, it make our life difficult because they're going to be a strong rival. But they were where we expected them to be, and they delivered.
Indeed.
I guess. As a following up question from that, as the all-seeing conqueror of GPVWC, you need a theme tune and a cape. How do you see Super League as a entity going so far in 2015? Because it's been quite a hula shake-up of the old formula, and it's been quite fascinating to watch.
I mean, you had 3 different winners in the first 3 races. You've got potentially 2-3 other guys that could have won races and didn't. Obviously, you can only have one winner. So I think it's a positive. It keeps people guessing. It keeps the competition open. This was actually, this is the first race I was able to watch, and being home to sort of be. But it's a great spectacle. Obviously, you won't have the same close field that perhaps you get in some of the other series because the cars are different. But still, you've seen today there's been battles from the very first lap to the very end of the race. I think it was a fairly interesting and exciting race from a strategic perspective, from a racecraft perspective, and I think it's a great show, and surely it's a positive from a league perspective.
Yeah, indeed. And just one more question. Thing I was asking. With the car, obviously developing throughout the season. I was just wondering for the rest of the season, what tracks do you reckon you might, be especially strong at? I mean, obviously Canapino here so far has been pretty strong, really all round for all three of these first races. But is there any particular tracks that you think maybe the car might be especially good at?
It's always been a philosophy in development for us, an Ocean, to sort of prepare a car that's good on all tracks. I mean, I don't expect to have any specific one in which we're going to do particularly well. We do have a strong engine with Martex, so we may be an advantage in tracks like Canada and tracks like Monza further down in the calendar. But I think we're going to be strong and we're going to be competitive in pretty much every round. And then it's a matter also of driver preference. We do have two very talented drivers, and I'm sure they're going to make the best of any occasion that they have to score big points and more wins, hopefully.
Indeed.
Well, best of luck with that, Monsieur Benuzzi, and pass our congratulations to Mr. Canapino. What are you eating? Are you eating?
No, I'm not.
Oh, it sounds like kitchen dinner's going on at the Panisi household. It sounds amazing.
Other people may in the room, but not me.
Oh, there you go. There's dedication to the cause right there, peeps. Right there. So thank you very much to Will, David and Philip for taking part in the interviews. It's great to have a collection of drivers and team bosses to pop in and say hello. People should do that more often. Come along, team bosses, say hello. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with Quintin, Thomas and myself to give you more high-speed thrills and entertainment. And after 3 rounds, we are off to the wonders that are the Algarve circuit in Portugal. A bit like Estoril, only a bit more updated and without that horrible, weird uphill chicane thingamajig. So, new track for everyone to learn. Lots of fun to be had. Make sure you come in for Tuesday for the Formula Challenge and watch me battle around for 35th again. Then you've got Wednesday for the Super Cup, where you'll watch everyone scream at high volume through the microphone. And then you can come back for Thursday for a bit of old shenanigan with us. Until then, with thanks to Tom.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on again. It was a lot of fun. I look forward to the next round.
Absolutely. And thank you very much to Quintin, who is as ever cameraman extraordinaire, and without him this would not be possible. My name is Simon Smith. You guys all take care and have a quick bevy before bed. Bye for now.